disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing.
Lomito! Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
This is King Bucho. Welcome to BDA Boxing, the Boxing Debate Arena, the Sunday show, the post-fight show. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys about that fight. It was okay, I guess. It's a lot of holding, a lot of clinching. But yeah, first of all, let's give a shout out to everybody in the chat. J Colt, JD, JDA, a lot of J's in the chat. Official Boxing Scorecard, of course. Noob Gang, Bernard, Alejandro Solis, Des Roots, Shadow Combat. Who else do we have up here? Mr. Terraza. Shadow Combat, yes. All right, Vince Vegas. All right, guys, welcome to the show. All right, let's get this started. We have Mr. BDA and Gonzalo on the line. What's up, guys?
Good afternoon.
What's up? Well, the fight. What do you think about the decision? I think it was the right decision. I think Jake Paul won that fight. Sorry, Jake Paul. Tommy Fury won that fight. But, I mean, it was kind of close a bit. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it was a close fight, a very sloppy. I mean, people forget the guys that we watch at Showtime, ESPN, The Zone. It's high caliber, high level boxing. I mean, these guys have to go through a lot to get to the level they're at. And even when you've got overrated guys that are pushed onto the TV, a TV spot, this time you just saw a completely different game here. Jake Paul was flinching a lot, flailing away. Mm-hmm. I was actually surprised at his jab, though. That was a good jab.
That was a good jab,
and a good counter left hook. But his money punch was the right hand, and he wasn't going to land that. I mean, it was like you could say it was an okay fight, really. I mean, what else was there to do on a Sunday afternoon than if there's boxing there and it had a lot of hype, you were going to watch it. But I thought, but come on. Fury crying. I mean, I know you guys going to talk about that, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, those were my thoughts on the fight.
He was crying maybe because he won a lot of money. I don't know. That could be it. But other than that, I mean, Jesus.
He was crying because he was going to be excommunicated from the family if he lost.
That's true. I mean, he did have a lot of pressure. I mean, he would have lost to Jake Paul. I mean, it would have been embarrassing.
Who did you think won the fight?
Tommy Fury. When I say close, I say it wasn't a whitewash, but at the same time, I wouldn't have given Jake Paul the decision. Like a judge gave him the win, so that's strange in my opinion, because he really didn't do that much. He really did. He missed with the right hand the whole fucking time. He landed it like twice, I believe. It's round 2 and later on, maybe round 7, 8. That's it, man. He really didn't. But then again,
he tried putting it on late. He did unload with some combinations, but again, see, that's the difference between the professionals we're used to watching and these guys. It's the stamina. A lot of clinching, even from the get-go. A lot of clinch from Tommy Fury. It was disgusting. I was surprised at how stern the referee was. from the get-go, he wasn't allowing too many hijinks in there, warning these guys, and then taking points off.
I
So
mean, yeah, the
he
referee
was
was
interested.
professional. Yeah, he was treating this as a legitimate fight. I mean, it is a professional fight at the end of the day, right? But he wasn't he was serious. He took this very seriously.
And you know what, Joe?
Huh?
That's why you're not gonna see him in championship level fights.
No, you'll
'Cause he
never see him.
respects
No,
the
you're gonna
rules.
see Kenny Bayless.
Yeah.
You're gonna see Kenny fucking Bayless. Guys, the phone lines are open if you want to jump in and tell us what you thought about the fight, what you think about the future of this type of fights. Is it over? I mean, Jake Paul, his undefeated record's gone. That was kind of the appeal. You know, how far can he go? Can he become a world champion? I mean, some people were talking about that, or a legitimate contender. Now that he has lost to a guy like Tommy Fury, he only had 8 professional fights. Is it over for Jake Paul? You guys let us know, okay? So call in. The number's on your screen.
Hey, is Gonzalo here?
I don't know.
Hey, is my mic working? How's it going, Mr. BDA? What's up, Bucho?
What's up? Yeah, your mic's working. I don't know if you caught the fight.
Yeah, I was watching it. Fell a little asleep after the first round for the Macaboo versus.
Oh.
What's that guy's name? I forgot. The guy.
What's Badu Jack?
Yeah, I woke up. I think he won. What's his? I forget his name.
Yeah, he won. He stopped Macaboo. Macaboo was terrible.
Okay, I fell asleep because of the time zone. I was trying to fall. I was just tired. But yeah, I watched this one. Yeah, surprisingly, Tommy Fury was letting his hands go in combos. I see the relation to Fury a little bit. How he throws from the shoulder. Man, Jake Paul was tying up a lot. Well, they both were tying up, and I think the headbutt, it wasn't deliberate, but it was Jake Paul's fault. So that shows like sign of frustration, lack of ability, stamina problems, like BDA said. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
So you clearly got to see the level, and considering Tommy Fury's 23 years old, I mean, he's younger. He dealt good. He dealt well with this guy's power. What's his name? Jake Paul. I was surprised that he knocked him out with that jab. I guess he might have slipped a little, but it still made contact, and it was pretty powerful. I mean, the way he just threw it. You see, he telegraphs his shots a lot and everything, but that jab, for some reason, just because you telegraph sometimes doesn't mean that you're always going to telegraph. It came out of nowhere. It was pretty good. So 95% of the time he was doing things wrong, but I guess he did it right one time.
That's true.
You know, it's like it's how the saying goes. You know, sometimes lightning strikes. So yeah, he's got a little bit of ability, but there's no consistency. At least Tommy Fury was more consistent. He was letting his hands go, and that's kind of like surprising to me because of the way his body's built for a boxer. But I guess they're cruiserweights. You know, he's got like a big chest, big shoulders, big arms. The shoulders okay for boxing, but like the biceps. You should be more triceps and back, and you know what I mean.
Absolutely, biceps are not really that useful.
This guy's not gonna go very far, Tommy Fury, in the professional ranks.
Oh no,
I mean, he'll be lucky.
No. Nope. Did we get disconnected here?
No, I just said, yeah, he's not gonna get far, man.
Let's take a
he's not
phone
gonna
call
get.
then.
Okay,
you gonna say
sorry.
something? I don't know if you're gonna say. You keep quiet. You don't say anything. And then, all right, I'm gonna take a phone call. 562, you're on the air. 562.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Nice. No, I think that was pretty close enough. I didn't wait, but I don't get it. Paul said he had 2 knockdowns. I saw 1 knockdown, that jab, in his post-fight. I don't get what he was talking about. 2 knockdowns. Like, did you guys see 2 knockdowns? I didn't see that.
There was only 1 official knockdown.
Yeah, I was looking at back. I was like, where's the second knockdown? But I think it just shows Tommy Fury is just that much better than him. He threw more volume. I don't think he has the power to really, like, throw a hard one, knock Jake out, even if there's a rematch. But his volume and his combinations are enough to cause Jake problems. But I'll watch a rematch of that any day. I thought it was well worth the money.
Yeah, I mean, it was an okay fight in my opinion. It didn't. It looked like a circus. It was a real fight. Uh, but
Yeah.
would you pay again? Would you pay $50 again?
Yeah, I'd pay $50 again. I didn't mind it. It was entertaining enough because they both really wanted that win. But their belt, I'm a bit confused. It's a WBC, but
it's a ceremonial.
What exact belt?
It's a
ceremonial. They fight for?
It's a ceremonial belt. I don't think you defend that belt. It's just it's a fight belt.
It's just some. Yeah, it's just some BS belt. It's both made for the fight.
Yeah. When it comes to Jake Paul, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, you said you want to see a rematch, but how far can Jake Paul go? Do you think there's going to be a lot of interest in more fights coming from Jake Paul, or is this it?
I don't know if he'll win the rematch, but he could be a better counterpuncher in the rematch when Fury comes in and throws, a 6-punch combination. Get tired on that left hook and that right hand, and he can make it land a bit harder this time, maybe get a few more knockdowns. But again, going back into a rematch, I could see it 60-40, maybe again 50-50. But Jake is might be a YouTuber, but I see him being pretty damn good at this kind of level. I don't know about any higher, though.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, the thing is that a lot of people were curious as to how far he could go, and I think this is it. Basically, that's what we're saying here. So that's why I'm questioning how much interest there's going to be for his future fights.
I mean, Tommy Fury proved a bit more than I thought tonight. I don't think he'll go that far himself. I don't think he's anything like his brother Tyson, but we'll see. I don't think he'll be as great as all of them. But
we'll see then. All right. Hey, thanks for calling. All right. Call back again next time. See ya.
Thanks.
All right. Before we take another phone call, I'm going to read a super chat from Infamous, I guess. Jake ducks his head very weird. That's true. So that the back of his head is facing his opponent. Fury finally started throwing uppercuts when he was doing that. That's what you do, man. He should have thrown more uppercuts. That was pretty successful. Great comment there from a super chat. Let's take a phone call here. 949, you're on the air. 949.
Hey, how's it going, BDA?
This is Bucho, boy. Welcome to the show.
Everybody. Yeah. There was a lot of hugging, man, a lot of clinching. It shows the lack of experience that both fighters actually have. Tommy actually did a little better than I thought that he was because he wasn't very impressive in none of his previous 7 or 8 fights. And Jake Paul, he survived. I mean, I'm not a fan of him or anything like that, but he definitely had some haymakers in there that kind of landed, but at the end of the day, I did see Fury winning. And to the other caller that was talking about the 2 knockdowns, I think he meant the 10-8 rounds where one he knocked him down and the other one he was deducted a point. Mm-hmm. So I was just trying to clear that fight for the other person. Last but not least, or second to last, I don't ever want to hear nothing about Jake Paul versus Canelo or none of that bullshit. Like Canelo will put him in a body bag, and congrats to Jack. He's a 3-division world champ now. He looked very good, especially for his age. It looked like Macaboo was his age, and the ages were reversed. So I mean, good for him. And it looks like he still has good, plenty in the tank.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I have to look at the cruiserweight division, how it looks like. But I was disappointed with Macaboo, though. He didn't look that great. He's probably the weakest champ in that division. But credit to Badu Jack for becoming a 3-division champ. Just one question here. What's the future here for Jake Paul and his fight? His popularity fighting MMA fighters and now Tommy Fury. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, he's definitely going to take the rematch because he has to have vengeance if he has any future in this sport. But it was ludicrous to think that he would be ranked even if if he was gonna beat Tommy, because Tommy himself isn't even ranked, so why would he get ranked for beating a non-ranked person? But since there are a lot of eyes and a lot of attention, I definitely see him, making a few more fights. But if he keeps losing like this, then he's not gonna have a big career in the sport.
All right. Well, thanks for a phone call.
And we need more than 8 rounds, though. At least 10. I mean, it was a joke.
Yeah, right. But wait 10 rounds and
all right, thanks everybody.
Goes down.
Have a good one.
All right, take care, man. Good call here. Yeah, he wants 10 rounds. 10 rounds would be nice, but for sure, 10 rounds and like I said, somebody would be on the canvas, especially Jake Paul. Probably Jake Paul. He was tired. He looked tired. Again, guys in the chat, the phones are open, and yeah, tell me what you think about the future of this type of fights. I don't know how you categorize these fights. What would they be called? I don't want to call them celebrity fights or anything like that, because I remember back in like the early 2000s or late 90s, you had this TV show called Celebrity Boxing, and these guys couldn't box for shit. And when they had like a 1 week training, and then they would fight. And that's celebrity boxing, but this is real. This is a real deal. You had a real referee. Both guys can box, but at the same time, these aren't ranked fighters, and they're not the winner's not gonna become a contender or a gatekeeper or anything like that. So, what's the future for this type of fights, though?
Hey, by the way,
I'm not interested anymore in this.
You mentioned the celebrity boxing there from the late 90s or I think early 2000s. That could only have taken place on Fox, the sleaziest network at the time. And celebrities, I mean, these guys hadn't been celebrities in for the past 10 years at the least. And how much you think they pay those guys? A couple $100, maybe. Oh yeah,
they were washed up actors and shit like that. I mean, like somebody said at the time, it wasn't boxing and it wasn't celebrities or something like that. So, yeah. I'm just, to be honest, I'm very curious because I think that it's over for these type of fights. And I'll tell you why. Because we had Floyd Mayweather against Conor McGregor. Big fight in terms of popularity. Everybody was curious as to how that was going to play out. It was a one-sided fight. The smaller guy won in Floyd Mayweather. And it was a boring-ass fight. Nobody cared about another potential fight between a boxer and an MMA guy. It was over because the curiosity was... The question was answered in a way as to how that would play out, and now it's the same thing with Tommy Fury. Everyone's, what if Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury? What's next? He's gonna step up in level. He's gonna fight somebody else. Like he's gonna get ranked at some point. Maybe challenge for a title. I mean, that's great. That was a crazy idea, but it's over. He can't beat a guy like Tommy Fury.
Doesn't it seem a little disingenuous that he was talking a lot of shit before the fight and after he's all acting like real humble and shit?
Well, always happens.
Like, come on, man, keep the same fucking energy. You're talking shit, own up to it. Like, Tommy Fury should have accepted his him trying to get in his good graces. You're talking a lot of shit, dude. Fuck you, man. He was what was he saying? Logan Paul. Fuck the Furies. Well, I don't know if people are just like that nowadays.
I mean, yeah. Well, maybe it's the emotions. I don't know. Yeah, he said something during the fight. But listen, both guys made a lot of money, and talking shit helped to promote that fight. So they're both happy with the money at the end of the day. This is what it is all about. It's about the money. They have the money, so why keep the charade going? The hate and all this bullshit. I don't know. These guys aren't Adrian Broner, who after a fight are still talking shit. Jose Edwards in the chat said Jake Paul made boxing great again. Once he retires, boxing is dead. I mean, listen, I do think that Jake Paul brought a lot of attention to boxing. And I've always said that I think he's good for boxing.
Yeah, but it was his first legitimate boxer. All the other guys were MMA.
No, yeah.
So now he faces the first legitimate boxer and he loses.
But Gonzalo, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying. Are people gonna still be interested in following his career?
I mean, he's got
look,
power.
You guys are right. Look, Jake Paul, it's over right now for him. Unless he can do the thing that other boxers do, which is get a couple of knockouts, sensational knockout wins and a comeback, then perhaps his profile will be up. But I think this shtick is getting old. I think the funds are running out for this type of enterprise. I mean, like you said, Floyd Mayweather. My goodness gracious, what an embarrassment last night with the crowd or lack thereof for his event last night. It was awful, man. They were giving tickets away essentially. Unless they match him up with like a Masvidal, another MMA guy, or what's another MMA guy? Like, somebody that talks a lot, like a Josh Koscheck. I don't know if he's still around or if he's on a wheelchair or something. You never know with these UFC guys. But yeah, they need to put him in there with somebody. And look, I don't know how much money they made. Apparently, the what is it called? The site fee from Saudi Arabia is gold. But again, could they pull this type of endeavor over? Could they pull it off over at LA, New York? I don't know, man. I think the writing's on the wall for these type of events.
I agree with you completely. I think it's gonna just fade out, and we're gonna move on to something else. The interest is gonna be gone. Jimmy, what's up? Are you there?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Jimmy? Did you catch the fight?
I caught the last few rounds of it. I caught him dropping Fury, but listen, not for nothing. I didn't see the whole thing, but all I know is the fact that it went down to a decision and Fury was jumping around like that. I mean, what the fuck, dude? He was supposed to expose the dude. Remember, it's a YouTube. I've been doing this my whole life. I mean, is that a moral victory because you fucking want a split decision against a kid that 2 years ago was fucking, a content contributor? I don't know. The whole fucking thing is just played out. Now, if this kid wants to continue as a professional boxer, so be it. But you know what? Now go the rest of the route. No more pay-per-views. You want to still be a professional boxer, go along. Start fighting guys, 6-rounders against normal dudes. I don't see why he would want to put himself through that. He's got too much money, but yeah. And I think this whole exhibition thing, and then Floyd taking it up the ass last night, and those fucking the empty O2 arena, I think the whole thing's played out. So yeah, I agree.
Played out. That's the word. Played out, guys. I think it's played out. Shout out to Virtuoso in the chat for his super chat. Celebrity Boxing on Fox had Todd Bridges and Tonya Harding, both on irrelevant scale of fame and desperate for money. Was Tonya Harding the figure skater? I think. And then you had who was Todd Bridges? Fuck, that was such a long time
Remember,
ago.
they also put the guys. I don't remember who Todd Bridges is, but remember that they also had Screech, the guy who played Screech. That guy who was always in some sort of scam.
He passed away already.
Guy from the
yeah,
I think he knocked out an old guy from the park, like an old man. I'm talking a guy who was 60 something or so. Like there was a huge age gap, and he knocked him out. I think he knocked out an old man. He was celebrating
that was Fox,
like Tommy Fury. I am Tommy Fury. I beat the odds. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, the crying was like Jimmy said. I can't believe it was like Rocky. I mean, I was just expecting him to yell his wife's name or whatever, and then, it was just pathetic, man. But it's played out. This shit's played out in my opinion, though. But guys,
hey, I'm calling it now, man.
Call in. Go ahead, Mr. BDA.
I'm calling it now. Jake Paul's gonna be doing porn.
Yeah.
Maybe not in a couple of months from now, maybe not even a year from now, but eventually you will see this man making pornography. It's becoming more and more accepted with OnlyFans. Kids are, apparently, this is what I hear, high school kids are on their phones watching porn in class. I mean, this is something unheard of, and I wish we had that type of technology back when I was a kid. I would have been watching that porn all the time. Be that as it may, I don't be surprised if you see Jake Paul's dick on your computer screen one of these days.
Yeah. I mean, you have to take it to the next level. Hey, what about MMA, though? I can see him like this saying, oh, I'm better at wrestling or some bullshit. And there's going to be some sort of like curiosity. Can he make it in MMA? I don't know. I think it's over. I think this is over because, again, I believe that the reason why a lot of people watched Jake Paul's career or followed his boxing career was to find out how far he could go. And we've got an answer. We had an answer. Just a few it was not even an hour ago. We just had that answer, that question answered. This guy cannot become a contender. That's it.
Very difficult. It's very difficult. And remember what we were talking about before the fight? That thing that was going to trouble, the thing that troubles, I should say this, the thing that separates the professionals that we're used to seeing from guys who are wholly inexperienced at this is timing. How do you fight? Like, it's easy to punch. You hit hard and you're in front of a punching bag in practice or in front of the mitts, where the guys actually, some coaches like Jimmy says are actually punching harder or working harder than the guy throwing the shots, and just so they can look good. It's easy to do that. Now you got a moving target. How do you work your way inside? How do you work yourself in range? How your feet? Can you gauge the distance at a subconscious level without thinking about it? Obviously, can you feint? How quick are your shots? Are you telegraphing them too much where the other guy sees it for a split second and boom, it's over? You can't land a shot. Jake Paul liked all of those things. He did a good job with the jab, like we talked about, kind of left hooks here and there, but it was just not enough. Too inconsistent, and that's the mark of an amateur right there.
He's also pretty slow, to be honest. Nicholas, our heroes, thank you for your contribution. He says, boxing downhill from here, but he will do MMA now. That's true. He will do MMA. It's very likely. I think so, actually. You were right. We'll see. Thank you for that contribution, man. Boxing downhill from here, though. I don't know. Boxing downhill from here. We have some great fights coming up this year. We've already had Josh Wand. It's going to be announced probably. Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez. Devin Haney against Lomachenko is going to be announced soon, I guess. We have... What was the other fight? We don't have shit.
Yeah, boxing. It's not that boxing is downhill. It's just boxing is not for everybody. It's just the reality, man. Boxing is not for everybody.
Yeah, I know, for sure.
Great point, man.
And again,
it's a great point, yeah.
Mayweather did a lot of damage. But go ahead, Mr. BD.
Hey, but listen, we have a lot of good fights. I don't know if we're going to get into the Subirel Matthias fight, which was great at a point and then completely missed the mark at the end. But I mean, we're getting some good fights next week. For example, Fundora versus Maxayo. You get a natural counterpuncher in Maxayo who can crack against the guy that's going to be coming forward. That should be, on paper, it should be fireworks. So we're getting some good fights, man. It's just sometimes as boxing fans too, we get a little jaded and we tend to look at the negative and point it out more than the positive. But this year's been good, man. This year has gotten off to a good start.
Absolutely. That's why there was another fight. I just mentioned 2 fights, but there's more fights. I just can't think of them right now. By the way, Nicholas, he's correcting me. He said, I meant downhill for Jake. Yeah, absolutely. It's downhill for Jake now. But I give him credit and everything for trying. I mean, he did take this seriously, though. So it's not like he didn't train or he looked terrible. He looks decent for a guy who just started boxing, basically. But I'm just saying that this idea that he's going to become a contender, I think it's pretty much over. He's not going to go far in the sport. So
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I'm going to read I'm going to go for a phone call here. 323, you're on the air. 323.
Gentlemen, can you hear me?
Oh, Steve Kim, what's up?
No, nothing. Just thought I owed you guys a call listening to your fine program. By the way, I was listening to Coach Malachi's blow by blow. It had me cracking up. I thought it was like Ollie Frazier listening to him. But I actually think that the Jake Paul thing is pretty much over. It was going to be something significant till he lost, and he lost. I think the other trend here is the growing influence and possibility of more and more big fights going to places like Saudi Arabia. I think that's the big story here. Because as fighters want exorbitant money, and as the pay-per-view business continues to flag, the economic stimulus provided by the Middle East might actually be more and more prevalent in the upcoming years. I think that's the story here. It's that whether Jake Paul won or not, I don't give a damn. I didn't even watch the fight. But that's something that I'm monitoring is, are we going to be relegated as fans to just watch it on TV as these fights all go to the Middle East with oil money?
Yeah, that's a big question here. What do you guys think, though?
Well, first of all, I'm ashamed to hear that Steve didn't watch the fight. I mean, you're supposed to be a boxing guy, Steve. What's going on here?
I'm shocked.
Well, look, when people say, well, like I said, that's exactly why. I'll try to catch the Badu Jack fight later. Congratulations to him, 3-division world champion. But, you know, look, like you said, like you guys mentioned, Subriel Matthias. I think that was the story of the weekend. That's what I wrote about for Snack.com on K9's Corner. I thought that was an excellent performance. I think, to me, look, I'm still a traditionalist. I'm old. I have nothing against these fights. I really don't. But at the same time, I reserve the right to not give a shit either. So I don't tell people what to do with their money or to boycott or anything else like that. But you know, I've enjoyed my Sunday afternoon listening to Coach Malachi and now BDA boxing and also writing my column. So, you know, that's kind of the way it is. It's not going to make or break my business to not watch Jake Paul and Tommy Fury.
Steve, I think we all agree that Jake Paul's career is probably over in boxing. There's no appeal anymore. But do you think that he was good for boxing in a certain way?
I don't think he was as bad as people think. I've actually met Jake and Logan Paul. I enjoyed him. I actually had to go and cover that when I was at ESPN when I think the brother lost to KSI at the Staples Center and Devin Haney was on that card and so was Billy Joe Saunders. That was in, 2019, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think, Larry Merchant once said it best. Ain't nothing going to save it. Ain't nothing going to kill it. It pointed out that maybe boxing needs to do a better job of actually making the fights they need to. Now, in all fairness, this year's off to a good start. The schedule is going to be really good because I do expect Lomachenko, Haney, and Fury Usyk to eventually cross the finish line. Garcia Davis has been completed, and there's some other good fights on the schedule. Last week we had 2 really good fights on the zone. Subriel Matthias, I thought, put on an excellent performance yesterday. So it's not always all bad, but Jake Paul was an interesting, a novelty act. But if you actually research the history of boxing, guys, novelty acts have been around for 100 years.
Oh, really? Like, can you give us an example of another one?
Oh, Muhammad Ali fought Antonio Inoue.
Oh yeah, the leg kicks. That was a weird fight.
Yeah, and it kind of ruined his career. And that thing was such a disaster that Bob Arum literally, who'll talk about anything, will not talk about that. I know a guy, Josh Gross, who wrote a whole book on it that I got. He said the one guy that didn't want to talk, he absolutely refused to talk about it, was Bob Arum, who promoted that ill-fated event, and it was a disaster. You've had other things where, George Foreman fights 5 guys in one night. I think that was in Toronto, Canada. So this really is nothing new. Mm-hmm. In the celebrity boxing, I think some of the guys that you guys were mentioning were like Danny Bonaducci. He was part of that. He was on the Partridge Family. Screech from Saved by the Bell, who used to work with Mario Lopez, God rest his soul. He was a part of it. And by the way, Todd Bridges, he was famous for being on Different Strokes, which was one of the first sitcoms that I ever recall. And then Vanilla Ice was on that too. So really, again, nothing is ever really new in this sport by this stage.
That's a good point.
Hey, strokes. That's what Jake Paul's going to be doing on screen now to make money. But I wanted to ask Steve Kim something about that. You mentioned Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis. A lot of us are skeptical that that's happening. A lot of us want to actually see these guys in the ring before we can say, okay, it's happening. Is it happening, really?
Well, as of now, look, I'm not saying anyone can't get hit by lightning or hit by a truck, but my understanding is it's a done deal, guys. I know there's skepticism. I know there's some cynicism, but I have felt that both parties had to make this fight because they have no other choice. They back themselves into a corner. It's a done deal. Now, whether they fight or not, and someone breaks a hand, someone decides to get arrested again, I cannot predict that, but my understanding is the reason why they have not announced the venue for April 22nd is because they still have got to figure out which deal they want to take. I believe the fight will take place at T-Mobile Arena, which is a pretty regular spot for boxing now. My understanding is that the Raiders Stadium, Allegiant Stadium, has made a bid to host that fight. The problem is the guarantees are not that big. So I just get the sense it'll be business as usual, and it will end up at the T-Mobile. But in terms of a fight being done without the two guys touching up the gloves as they face each other, this fight's done. It is a done deal.
Good. That's good for boxing. Any more questions from you guys?
Well, in regards to the Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor situation, the fact that it's a good fight, don't get me wrong, But you got to feel a little bad for Jake Carroll. Poor guy was pulled around and jerked around for more than a year. What are your thoughts on that, Steve?
I think it's bullshit. I hate it. And it almost feels like a cash out by Top Rank with Teofimo. They want to see, because I think they're getting sick of, they wonder at this point, what does Teofimo have, especially after that last performance, which was pretty alarming. And I think Jake Catterall got the absolute shaft. First of all, they fought last February, guys. Why did it take a full year to make that rematch? We're not talking Ali Frazier, okay? And this is what I don't like about the boxing business. No one fights anymore, or they don't fight enough. Josh Taylor's become a once-a-year fighter the last 3-4 years. Teofimo Lopez has become kind of this, I don't know what to say, kind of this enigmatic guy. And this is Top Rank's way of saying, okay, someone's going to sink, someone's going to swim, and let's see who comes out of this so we can move forward with them. Now, I think that deal's pretty much done. I've been hearing about this for about a month or so, that's the direction they were going to go. But yes, Jack Catterall got the shaft. I feel terrible for him, and hopefully they could salvage something for him. Maybe a matchup against Regis Prograis, who's become the absolute most avoided man in boxing, and it's criminal the way everyone's just avoiding him.
You said they want to get rid of Teofimo Lopez?
I don't think they want to get rid of him, but I think they want to see what they have. I mean, the kid's become kind of this enigmatic guy. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm not completely sure that he beat that Spaniard. I mean, I think he may have eked it out, but it was less than sterling performance. And if they want to make noise and demand all this money, okay, let's see what you have. I mean, they're going to put it in New York, in his country, his backyard. Josh Taylor has not fought by that point by about, 15, 16 months. So let's see what he has.
Mr. Bidet once compared Teofimo Lopez to, he could be the next Jermaine Taylor. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, that's an interesting one, because I think he's much better technically and fundamentally than Jermaine Taylor. I think the issue is, from the time they beat Lomachenko, that was in October of 2020, that whole camp never once thought about getting better at boxing and actually focusing on the sport. Everything became about greed, hubris, you know, how much money can we get? They put the cart before the horse, and I can't actually say for sure that we haven't already seen the best of Teofimo. You got to keep perfecting your craft. You got to work at this, and this is what happens when you try to turn something into a business before you finish off being a complete boxer. So it'll be interesting, given the fact that if you look at that fight back in December, Teofimo almost had no clue how to handle that southpaw. Now, Josh Taylor, I don't know if he's as slick as that guy, but I do know he has more offensive tools. He's going to take more risks. So it almost seems like a sink or swim situation for Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, that's true, though.
Probably is, man. He's on a little slippery side right now. And just to ask you something else about the Josh Taylor versus Lopez fight, is there plenty of blame to go around for the Carroll rematch not happening, or does a lot of that fall on Josh Taylor?
Well, I think it's on Josh. Isn't he the one that kind of waffled on it? Then he dumped a few belts. Then he threatened to move up. Then he ended up vacating a couple of belts, one of which was filled yesterday. And then he got injured. And so I don't place any of the blame on Jack Catterall. I mean, maybe you could say Jack Catterall's team should have moved faster and had their own plans. But look, Jack Catterall believes that he won that fight last year. I happen to agree, but there's nothing we can do to actually change that decision. The most money for him may have been Josh Taylor. So I think it's hard to blame Jack Catterall for any of these things that have happened the last 12 to 13 months.
He can fight Matthias.
Yeah, look, I think Matthias is the absolute boogeyman, as I wrote today. That article is going to come tomorrow because that guy puts you through the meat grinder. And I was there ringside for that highly tragic bout against Maxim Dadashov. And I actually think the Ponce corner did the right thing. They knew where that fight was going. It had turned. It was going to get very brutal. It was going to become very ugly. And they just said, you know what, let's live to fight another day. But Subriel Matthias will be another guy that despite having a belt, the people are going to find a way to avoid him. They will take the path of least resistance because that guy, he alters you physically throughout the bout.
Now he's Puerto Rican. He's Puerto Rican, so he might pick up a following. So can you really be a boogeyman when you have a large following? Because
well, here's the issue. He is Puerto Rican, but I don't know. I mean, it's been a while since he actually fought in Puerto Rico. And the PBC, they have to do a better job of keeping guys busy now. He has not. That's another guy he hadn't fought in about a year. But look, there's some buzz over him. You can do some title defenses with him in Puerto Rico. But again, when was the last time PBC did a card outside of the United States or the 48 states of continental America? It doesn't really happen. And now they have an issue of how long will Showtime, in their current form, be financing boxing. I've heard several things about what direction they might go. So, it's one thing to be a boogeyman, but now you have to promote this guy and make sure that he fights more than once every 11, 12 months.
Right, that's true.
He's got a pretty unique style. You know, defensively, he pays no mind. Maybe he won't have like a long title reign. Eventually, if he keeps fighting undefeated, young, tough fighters, he's going to fight somebody that's got more than average punching power. And he might catch another L, but he's getting a lot of referee technical decisions. I think that's how the acronym, RTD.
Yes.
But he throws everything with 60 to 70%, so he's consistently throwing. And as you start wearing down, he keeps stepping up the level where, you know, he's going to catch you as you're melting away. He's going to continue punching you harder. So it's pretty unique, man. The last 4 or 5 fighters that he's faced, the referee steps in and everybody's paying attention, right? Because he's killed one guy now. So I find that pretty unique.
Yeah, he beats you up. And he's one of these guys that he doesn't just get you with one punch. He just kind of brutalizes you over 36 minutes. And look, I thought Ponce was spent by the time he got knocked down. But we will see what happens with the PBC on Showtime. Okay, I'm not making a prediction, but this is what I know. Next week, they have a pretty good main event from Ontario, California with Figueroa and Mixayo. Look at the boxing calendar, guys. You will not find, I don't believe, unless they've added something, do they have another fight on regular Showtime past next Saturday?
Ontario,
not that I know
Ontario.
of.
That's the one that smells like cow farm. Steve, Kim, I remember driving through there. It smells like a fucking cattle ranch.
Yeah, Ontario's kind of a smaller city. It's about 40 to 45 minutes outside of L.A. They've had fights there before. It's been a regular destination. But I'm just making a point that I think all of the PBC fighters, unless you're one of the main pay-per-view guys, you're kind of wondering, okay, when's my next date? I mean, you look at what happened last night. Elvis Rodriguez and then Jamal James, they were all coming off about a year layoff. So if you really want to promote and move guys, you've got to get them out there with a little bit more activity.
Hey, Steve, I just checked after that fight. There's nothing on Showtime. There's the Showtime pay-per-view event from Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia, April 22nd. But between those two dates, there's nothing.
Yeah, I believe that this is what I was told. It looks like Paramount Plus will be doing some lower budget cards starting in late April or mid-May. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's kind of what I've heard around the water cooler. So for a guy like Subriel Matthias, that puts him in a very tough spot because even though he has a championship belt, there's a lot of risk in facing him because he just beats you up. He's actually like a more dangerous proposition than Regis Prograis because at least Prograis has been on TV a lot more. He's much more of a known entity. And you know, Regis has made some pretty good money, so maybe he comes with a better payday. So, we'll see what happens there. But Subriel Matthias is a guy that anytime he's on TV, I'd certainly like to be in front of it watching.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. You know what? Matthias last fought in January 2022. I mean, if they're going to be holding
by the way,
level cards,
now that I think
where
about
all
it,
these
I
guys gonna
think
go?
Mondura might have a fight on Showtime. So, again, I'm just saying, you look at their schedule, look what happens after the first or second week of April, because I was told that there's going to be a certain fight card that could be on the Paramount Plus streaming somewhere around that time, and it could feature Sergey Lipinets. That's the name that I was told. So, we'll see.
Hey, Steve, what's up, buddy? It's Jimmy. What's going on, brother?
Jimmy, what's going on?
Are they keeping is Steven Espinoza? I know he lost all that weight, probably nervous whether he was going to have a job still, but are they still keeping him on as head of the sports? Did you hear or not?
Yeah, look, he's been actually, theoretically, I think, moved up to the president of sports for that corporation. Now, I don't know what that means. Does that mean, but he does have to report to somebody.
Yeah,
but again, I don't know if that means he has the budget to say, hey, look, there's going to be X amount of dollars for boxing. There's been a lot of speculation about PBC not being on Showtime. But again, keep this in mind. Showtime is being kind of grandfathered into the Paramount Plus, so they may already have a built-in fan base. Here's the problem I think they have. If you look at the ratings that Showtime Boxing or Championship Boxing has gotten the last 3-4 years, it has been a steep decline. I mean, that show with Ray Vargas a couple of weeks ago, I don't even think averaged 200,000 views. Now, again, that could be the Ray Vargas effect because he could put a glass eye to sleep, right? But they are now looking at every single bit of programming they have, and they have to gauge cost effectiveness per dollar. And if you're spending $1.5 million, $2 million for events, and you can't even get 300,000 viewers, that to me is alarming. That does not bode well for any franchise.
And Steve, it's also, and I check every time after they have a Showtime, I always check that's usually Tuesday it comes out, the Nielsen, and the key demographic, as you know, that's what moves advertisers, that's what they look at, it's 18 to 49, and it's been abysmal, like terrible for the last, like you said, 2 years. So I was just, to be honest with you, I was just kind of hoping they would get rid of him. I mean, I think he's a toxic, obnoxious little fucking puke. I think Dana White, what he says about him is 100%. I really do. I just went to his Twitter feed to see if he was tweeting about the Fury fight, just see his opinion, because I know they lost out with that kid they had in there. And just I never realized how toxic he was, but I don't even need you to comment on that, Steve, or whatever. That's just my opinion, because I know you still might have to deal with him, but I just think he's an obnoxious
Jimmy, I have a hard, it's funny, I can't believe the head of a network or anyone in his position actually tweets the way he does. And someone told me, he said, Steve, that's because they don't care over there at Showtime. And I don't think he actually helps his own brand, the network's brand, because he turns off a lot of fans. I actually know more than a few people that no longer watch the PBC fights for one reason. They got rid of Showtime. And so here's the issue, guys. Let's say they do continue on operations. Let's say Showtime Championship Boxing then goes on Paramount Plus. Do boxing fans really want another streaming platform to rely on? I don't know. I think for business purposes, I have to. I guess I will. I'll bite the bullet. But, I heard a lot of complaints, which I think were very valid, about the Zone and their price hike. But there were an awful lot of people that said that they didn't want to watch boxing on a streaming platform, that were totally against it, came out and said they would never do it. And now guess what? Your favorite company may actually be on a streaming platform. The irony.
And it was that fan base who attacked. Remember, that was their whole thing, an app. They thought it was the biggest joke. It would be kind of fitting. But I agree. Listen, I'm like, we're getting rid of Showtime too, just for that. My wife actually sent an email to Showtime. Not that it would matter, just because she read it. She fired off an email. It's so, the shit that he was liking, she wouldn't retweet it, but shit he was liking, that was literally calling white people the devil. Guy's a fucking scumbag. He really is.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's who he's trying to cater to. That's who he's trying to pander to. And, good luck to him. I just think it's really interesting the way he has conducted himself. But maybe he has a safety net, and we'll see what happens. This business changes every 3-4 years. If you remember, guys, Bob Arum was an in-studio guest of me and Mario Lopez on the 3 knockdown rule, and he said back in 2018 or 19 that live sports really has no place at a modern-day premium cable network.
No.
And he said he doesn't think the PBC and the Showtime would be for long in its current form. Everyone scoffed at him. It was Arum. He was obviously biased. But, Arum is a wily old fox. He's a wily... Oh, by the way, guys, I just want to make an announcement. It looks like the 3 knockdown rule, we've been going through some transitions. Looks like we're going to be back in mid-March. So I don't... People are asking.
Nice.
That's the answer. We will be back in mid-March.
Yeah, good.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. It's a real show.
That was a long hiatus.
It's a real boxing show, to be honest. It's like instead of all this gossip. No, yeah, that's
true.
great. Great news, man.
Hey, by the way, Steve, you tweeted last week. I think it was you. You were at the Helvanesian versus Luis Neri fight. Is that a new venue where they're holding? Have they held big boxing cards there before? Or?
Yeah, so that was the Fox Theater in Pomona, California, best known for being the birthing place of Sugar Shane Mosley. That's an old theater. The Fox Theater is actually like a chain. They've had boxing there, not Golden Boy, but they've had smaller club shows there in the past, I've been told. What happened with that particular fight is that broadcast was added relatively late, somewhere around early January by Golden Boy and The Zone. And I talked to some people at Golden Boy, and they wanted to put that fight more or less in the LA area. Everything was booked for that particular weekend, February 18th. So they wanted to keep it somewhere in Southern California and somewhere that's relatively small. And so that's what they came up with. So it's I don't think they'll be doing a series of shows there because it's still not really it's about an hour away, about an hour drive or so from Los Angeles. And this year, Golden Boy Promotions will actually be doing a lot more cards in LA. They did one at the YouTube Theater with Alexis Rocha about 5 weeks ago. They went to Fox Theater. They'll be going to the Long Beach State Basketball Campus March 18th. And I was told by Eric Gomez, their president, in 2023, one of the focuses they're going to have is to actually do a lot more cards in the Los Angeles area.
Interesting. Should be good there. Get some local cards instead of doing them in Vegas all the time where nobody shows up. Hey, but also...
No, I'm with you on that. I am with you on that. And I think boxing needs to go more or less to local areas to try to rebuild things. But, it's tough. Look, boxing, there's very few fights that actually bring out a lot of people. And I'm looking at the ticket reports for a lot of these different shows. Even a really good fight like Caleb Plant Benavidez, March 25th. Guys, there's a lot of seats available. I believe those tickets are going to come down crashing hard the week of the fight.
Yep.
Wow.
That's a real good card, though. That's a real good card, in my opinion.
I just want to say, too, Steve, excellent article, man. The one that got printed in the Ring magazine, they put it up there. Real in-depth, man, about the tribalization. No, man, that was excellent, man. I suggest everybody read it. I talked about it on the last show, but
yeah, you're right.
Good job, bro.
I was gonna post it. I'm gonna post it, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, is this free?
I'm putting in my parting shots before I walk away into the sunset. But the problem is, I'm making so good of money for so little time. It's hard to walk away. So maybe I just like at this point trolling boxing fans, pissing them off, and then making a lot of money for not a lot of time. It's not a bad living, and quite frankly, I've earned it. Just kidding, guys.
Fucking right.
Is that on the digital issue of Ring magazine?
Oh, what was that?
What was the question?
Is the article free or is it in the digital issue of Ring magazine?
No, it's free. It's out there. It's called. It's really the title was from the editors, and it's chapter 1. There's certain things that I kind of will be talking about how to improve boxing. You're not going to fix boxing. It's not fixable, but that's part of its charm. But the first chapter that came out, I believe, last Thursday, is really about the network ties of all the fighters that are really keep a lot of fights from happening. Like, look, we are getting some fights. Let's not be overly cynical about this. But if you go back to the past 20 years, I can name you a lot of fights like Nonito Donaire, Abner Mares, all the way up to the Charlos against Munguia not happening because of network ties. And look, people always blame the sanctioning bodies, and they are certainly perpetrators of a lot of things here. But the exclusive network contracts that fighters and promoters have actually keep more fights from happening than any other issue in the sport. And that's what Chapter 1 was about.
Interesting. I'm going to make sure to check that one out right there, man. Because, you've always said that about the titles. It's a double-edged sword. You know, they got their good and they got their... Well, they're good for the fighters because they get more money out of it most of the time. But by the way, are you surprised that Caleb Plant Benavidez isn't selling well?
Am I surprised by what?
That Benavidez versus Plant isn't selling well.
You know, kind of, sort of. Neither guy is really what I call a draw. I think the reality is, and again, I have a really good source within the ticket business, and I think Jimmy probably knows who it is. His fights, Benavidez in Arizona, did not sell very well for whatever reason. And Caleb Plant has never really, he's never really been a draw. Look, it's a really good fight. It's a fight between two of the top, 3, 4, 5 super middleweights in the world, but that alone does not make it a great sell. The other thing is the pricing of the tickets, and sometimes what they do in terms of holding back the tickets, giving them to the brokers before the public. So, look, it's a system that is gamed against the public. And the problem is that when you go to Vegas, you have to actually plan out not only to buy a ticket, or the ticket that you want, then you have to risk getting an airplane flight or certain type of travel, and then you got to get lodging, which at least that you could actually cancel that for free, basically, and then cross your fingers that the fight happens. So it's a pretty good investment and risk in time that you're taking. And sometimes it's funny, the guy that I deal with sometimes can look at a ticket chart because he's in this business and he's taught me a lot. He'll just look at a ticket chart and say, nope, that fight's not going to sell. And the reason is very simple: pricing. Pricing is huge. And sometimes some of the tickets that are the seemingly the best value, they're actually never really available to the public. And then what's going to happen is, this is what happens. Then the tickets don't sell on the secondary market. Then they start releasing them really late. Well, here's the problem. Now it's 2-3 weeks before the fight, and you can't get a cheap flight.
Right.
That's kind of the reality of what goes on there sometimes.
You know, I remember a period in, I think it was between 2008 and 2009. They were holding a lot of big fights in non-casino venues. For example, Margarito Mosley was at the Staples Center. Juan Diaz versus Marquez, I think, was in Texas.
Houston. I went to that one.
Was that?
That was in Houston at the Toyota Center, I believe, home of the Houston Rockets.
There you go, man. There you go. Something was going on back then. Maybe it was the economic crash that was going on there with the house market and all that. But they were holding more fights in non-casino venues. Is that something that's going to happen? Or is that something that, like you mentioned, Golden Boy's trying to push more LA cars? Is that something that you could foresee in the future? Well, now with the price of eggs rising and so on and so forth? I know Golden
Boy is. Top Rank really hasn't, to be honest with you. Now, what I'm hearing is that even though Devin Haney wants this in Saudi Arabia because he gets all the money he wants over there theoretically, the plan is right now for Loma Haney to be in Vegas on May 20th. The Teofimo Lopez Taylor fight will be in Madison Square Garden. It looks like Fury Usyk, if it occurs, and that thing's kind of wavering, looks like it might be in Wembley. So, I mean, look, I think we're having a fair share amount of fights in different areas. I think the casino thing will always be there because they provide money and free rooms and hotel lodging and, and they feed your fighters for a full week. So it's a little bit cheaper. But I just don't know how sustainable it is if we never actually develop any hometown stars at all. So that's an issue. And then when you have fighters only fight twice a year at most, I don't know if that's a recipe for disaster or not. I know it's a recipe not to really grow the sport. So, I give Golden Boy credit. They are actually making some sacrifices and trying to actually rebuild or put a foothold on the Los Angeles market. I mean, think about it. Top Rank has not done an LA show that I can recall in at least 2-3 years, and they're very honest about it. It costs a lot out here. The rents are high.
It's true. I haven't seen Top Rank over there in a long time.
Hey, Steve, I noticed too that supposedly in the undercard for the Ryan Garcia card, you're having what's that guy?
William Zepeda is getting a slot.
Welterweight that's fighting the
3 weeks ago.
tennis. So those two guys are from different platforms. Then you got Pitbull. Zepeda. He's fighting Ryan Martin. So not only Tank and Ryan, they're fighting each other in different platforms. The guy from the undercard as well. So they're willing to do business, right? So it seems.
I guess so. Look, the way some of these deals work in co-promotions is that they'll say, okay, everyone gets a slot on the undercard. And I guess the lead promoter probably gets a little bit more. And then the other secondary promoter or the, whatever we call it, the B side, they get one. And I was told about 3 weeks ago, I tweeted about it, that William Zepeda was going to get a slot on Garcia Tank. Now, I said, well, what if that doesn't happen? He said he'd get his own date in May. I like William Zepeda a lot. He's a really action-packed fighter, lets it go, and he does a great job. I don't know what type of fight he's going to have. I think with William Zepeda, they still want to develop him a little bit, get him some more rounds. But he's the type of guy I think is really a lot of must-see TV. As for Jerron Boots Ennis, he actually put out some tweets kind of denying those reports. I don't know if he's willing to be on another pay-per-view undercard, and he may want to actually get his own slot or date if that's available. I'm not so sure what's going on with him, but that's what's going on there. And then what other fight was going to happen that I think later this year, guys, one fight I am looking forward to, and I hope it does happen. The Top Rank has made it clear they're going to reschedule Oscar Valdez against Emmanuel Navarrete. The question is, will Oscar Valdez get a tune-up fight, or will he go straight into that fight with Navarrete, who looked imminently beatable against Liam Wilson?
Yeah, he looked bored in there. Hey, real quick, Steve, in regards to Zepeda, he's must-see TV. He's must-see TV too as well. He throws a lot of punches. It must have to do a little bit with him being from the capital of Mexico because the elevation. He's got a real good gas tank. Matthias, he was training in Mexico with Zepeda's trainer. I think I saw him in the corner. Somebody else mentioned it. That was him. So he trains with Camarón Zepeda. That's going to be real hard for the opponents too, because now you got this dude that continually comes forward throwing punches, and he's also training in the capital in Mexico City on the elevation, on that plane.
Yeah, high altitude.
So that.
Yeah, yep. Look, a guy like him is a conditioned fighter, that he has to have a great engine. And look, I give Ponce credit. He came out winging first round. I thought he may have buzzed him once or twice, but even by the third round, you could really just see it. Like, this is going to be very, very difficult to keep up this pace for 36 minutes. And he's got a good chin, guys. Look, Maxim Dadashov, when I was at that fight, actually, I thought landed some good hard right hands, could never dent him, and could never really get him to back off. And it became just an avalanche of pressure. And I hate to say it, in today's game, I never thought I'd say it, we literally have mandatory challengers who then actually skirt the mandatory and duck title shots. That's kind of the state of it's ridiculous. No, it really is. It's like, could you imagine, Jimmy, a Marvin Hagler after all he went through, after 50 fights, saying, I want to choose an easier champion? It's ridiculous.
Unbelievable. Yeah, no, the government had to get involved with Hagler, for Christ's sakes. The Senate, they wouldn't have a hearing or something, I forget, because they knew something was up. Yeah, no, that kind of goes into what, didn't Rai just recently say, basically shit on belts, like, who cares? And of course you're going to say that, bro, because you're fighting, on a super fight, which is just outrageous, considering, like, somebody tweeted he's one fight removed from prospect status. You know what I mean? It's
Jimmy,
unbelievable.
Can we be honest here? here's the thing about Ryan Garcia, and I'm not a fan, but I recognize what he brings to the table. I believe he not fought once but twice for WBC eliminators, and he flat out did not want to fight Devin Haney because he felt Devin Haney was just simply too difficult. Well, my question is, then why even fight all these eliminators? It's just ridiculous what's going on that a guy like Munguia, who I liked a lot, you know this, Jimmy, I was really driving that bandwagon. He literally turned down 3 separate title shots the past year for whatever reason. So, and he didn't want to fight Demetrius Andrade. I get it. Then he didn't want to fight Janibek. I get it, I guess. And then he couldn't fight Charlo because, Oscar said we need the zone involved. So maybe that wasn't really his fault, but the business. But I never thought we'd get to a point where fighters were going to actually work for the number 1 ranking and then say, I don't want that title shot. And me personally, one rule, and I'm going to talk about this in that Ring Magazine series, is that if you're the number 1 contender and your mandatory is due, you turn down the fight, you get bounced out of the ratings. Get the hell out of here. We're not squatting on a rating. You're just waiting for a guy to move up so you could fight for an easier vacant title. We got to get rid of that. Winning a title should be hard. Last I checked.
Yep, I agree 100%. They should just boot you right out of their rankings if you turn it down. It just happens too frequently nowadays.
Like, do you want to get...
Especially what he thinks he's a social media influencer, Ryan, as much as he's a fighter, and that's what they're banking on. I hear numbers being thrown around, Steve, like I hear 1 million, 1.5 million. I don't see how a guy than Ryan, whose greatest number was 200,005. So he might put seats in the, people in the seats in certain areas, but his viewer numbers haven't grown at all. They've stagnated around, they've never gone over 200, according to even Espinosa's
Jimmy, you know what's interesting? I was actually at the fight with Fortuna last July. It was at a Crypto Arena, formerly Staples, right? They didn't come close to selling that out. They didn't even come close to selling out the lower bowl. And the upper level was curtained off. And now, maybe that's because it's Javier Fortuna. Now, I actually expect the Tank Davis fight to do pretty well because they are 2 big names, the caliber of fight. Look, I think they've lowered the bar on what you call a super fight. But again, this is 2023. But there's a big difference between following somebody on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter than actually saying, hey, here's $80 of my money. Following someone on social media or giving them a like or a retweet is free. That has never cost anybody any money. How does that actually translate? Because we are talking about Tank Davis, who is legitimately one of the 3 or 4 biggest ticket sellers in America, in 3 different markets. You got to give him credit. But in terms of pay-per-view, it's been figured out he's not that big of a pay-per-view draw. So all of a sudden, all these people say that 2 + 2 will equal 9. I don't see it. I don't really care. I don't live vicariously through these fighters. Again, I get paid the same no matter what happens, right? So, but when I hear these forecasts, like 1 million buys, 2 million, I'm like, I wouldn't bet on it.
Exactly.
When it comes to the rankings, we're talking about Ryan Garcia, for example, that he turned down the title shot. Can we also blame Mauricio Suleiman for the rankings?
Yes.
That because come on.
Yes, because number one, they have different sets of rules for everybody, and it's not consistent. And look, the sanctioning bodies could actually serve as the regulators to this business. If they would just say everyone has to fight a title defense against a ranked opponent and 1 mandatory every year, so that means you have to fight at least twice a year. Because I'm not going to ask for 3, because I'm not a dreamer. I like to be a little bit realistic. They could do it, but you've seen what they've done. How Jermall Charlo has literally gone 2 years now. It's going to be 2 years by the time he fights without defending his title. I don't get it. And then a guy like Carlos Adames, I think, should be allowed to fight for that title immediately because you made him into an interim champion. Now, Adames is a hell of a fighter. I mean, he's a rugged, bad dude. He had one bad night where he was completely out of shape, got outworked late by Teixeira. That was at 54. It makes no sense that you make a guy, I think, an interim titleist in a title fight that you took money from, but then you deny the guy his right to be next in line.
Right.
And that's the things that they do. And then the thing that they're doing with Thurman and Spence, I don't get it. If Spence is mandatory, Thurman is number one and mandatory for Keith Thurman, okay, I don't have to like the decision. Can you at least make it at 47?
That's so
mind-boggling.
Yeah. There's no rules anymore. No rules apply. It's chaos. It's a Wild West. And yeah,
even his... Oh, sorry, Bucho, go.
No, that's it. I'm just ranting here. Go ahead.
I was going to say, even his response, Suleiman's response, when asked by, what was it, 78 or the other guy, no, Barbershop Conversation asked him, about whether it was, I'm sorry, no, Boxing Boys, not that it matters, but he said, well, we'll see. Wait a minute, like he left it open-ended, because he said, will this satisfy his 147, because this is your mandatory, this is your excuse for fighting the guy that you swore you were never going to fight, you have to because he's your mandatory. Wait a minute, so all the pull you have, these guys who haven't made you do a mandatory in 3 years, but suddenly you're going to hold your feet to the fire to a guy and allow it to go up to 154? Why couldn't you just turn around and say, no, make my mandatory fucking, or can you waive it for Crawford? Of course they would. It's just, I think they're using Suleiman, who's clearly bends over backwards for the PBC fighters. There's enough of receipts to choke an elephant with what he's done. But I think that's one of the things that's really hurt, and it's making me just lose interest. Because at least they used to kind of hold them responsible, but
Jimmy,
if they're this foul.
Every company, Jimmy, has a favored sanctioning body, like WBO. They're very good, but I also think we're Bob's organization. They have a great relationship, very closely with Top Rank. The WPBC, Suleiman and Heyman, they seem to break bread a lot. And it reminds me a lot of Suleiman's father and Don King. So that's par for the course, but it is alarming that at one point a champion could rely on fighting somebody if they were their mandatory and say, okay, I get to kind of carve out a career here. And you have guys like Munguia who all of a sudden just say, nah, I'm good. But to be fair, Andre's done it too. As difficult as Andre is, he's actually squirted fights too. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing here. You want to get credit for the perception that you are ducked while not fighting. There's never been a fighter that's been voted in the Hall of Fame because someone says, man, I'm going to vote for that guy. That guy fought once in 18 months, man. He made a stand. No one cares at that point, So,
hey, man, your thoughts on? Sorry, it's in relation to this too. Why did they let go of Andy Ruiz, the PBC?
Good question.
In my estimation, and what I'm being told is that, look, Andy's not easy to deal with. He's not exactly Mexican Marvin Hagler as it relates to work ethic, right? And this is what I think, and this is what I've kind of been, it's what's been insinuated to me, is that what his minimum is and the possible fights out there just do not make sense. In other words, whatever he's supposed to be due as a minimum may not make economic sense, and PBC says, you know what? If you're going to be difficult, you don't want to work with us, and if we can't find you an opponent that makes sense economically, just let him go. I don't know how big of a loss this is for PBC. Let's be honest. Since the time he shocked the world against Anthony Joshua, that was June of 2019, he absolutely shit the bed in the rematch. Did not even give an effort. Okay? And then he's had 2 fights where he won, but he looked kind of vulnerable against older guys. What was it, Andy Ruiz and Chris Arreola? So, I don't know. I don't think it's all that much of a loss. Do I think he's a useful heavyweight, given the fact that the division is not very deep? Yeah. But again, the devil's in the details. It's like, if you could pay him a relatively low amount, he makes a lot of sense. But if him and his team are going to keep demanding multi-millions of dollars, and he's not exactly a great pay-per-view draw, maybe the PBC actually made the prudent move.
Well, I'm shocked the PBC made the right decision. But we have a question here from Vari V. Thank you for the super chat. He says, ask Steve how he sees Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. How do you see it played out?
I am not completely ruling out Loma, although I know there's issues with the age and corrosion. I believe that Loma's best way to win the fight is to be an aggressive counterpuncher. In other words, come forward, and I'm going to say this again. I've said this to you guys. Enough of this downloading bullshit. I'm so sick. If I hear that one more time, I might just scratch someone's eyeball out. Give me a fucking break. No other sport gives compliments to people losing round after round. Could you imagine a football team getting down 31-0 in the Super Bowl? No one says, well, that team's downloading information. No, they're getting their ass kicked. If Loma wants to win that fight, he has to come forward and he has to go right out there and close that gap. Because, look, I saw some things in the Joseph Diaz fight where Diaz actually clipped him with sharp left hands. This is going to have to be an aggressive Loma that comes forward and punches in between Haney. Because if he's just going to stay outside and try to box with that long, tall kid that's very athletic and very smart, it's going to be a tough road. But if he can close the gap on him, I actually think Loma can be really live in this fight.
Steve, we have Uncle Pete, who usually comes here on the panel, and I concur with his assessment. He says Loma is going to start out the way he did against Nakatani. Now, maybe not exactly the same, obviously, because Nakatani is a much different fighter than Haney. But so you expect that as well. You expect Lomachenko to come right out of the gate, because he should, right? 34 years old. That's probably his last chance.
If he wants to win, look. One thing I know about Devin Haney, he has unbelievable struggle making that weight. If the weigh-ins were not 30 hours before the actual bell, because that's what they are now. They're not even 24-hour weigh-ins, guys. A lot of those weigh-ins that you see, that you get pictures of in the video, that's a ceremonial weigh-in. They actually weigh in 3, 4, 5 hours before those things. So you're getting a lot of time to rehydrate, okay, that's another issue. We don't really have real weight classes anymore. But Haney generally will have some problems getting touched up late in fights. Loma cannot wait 6, 7 rounds to get started, or it is too late, because Haney is very good at boxing, and he's very good at playing keep away and stalling with a lot of clinching. But if he can get inside and get his hands moving and hit through clinches, or at least rotate his shoulders, as Teddy Atlas would say, it's an interesting fight. But again, don't download shit. You want to download an MP3, you want to download music, go ahead, do that before the fight. But I'm just so sick and tired of hearing this guy's downloading info. No, I call it losing rounds. Let's be blunt about that.
We have a super chat from Virtuoso. He's asking, Steve, did you see that WBO head honcho Paco say that Virgil Ortiz was offered 2 chances to fight Terence Crawford, but Crawford chose to take another route? Is that true?
I don't know if it's true, but it's believable, because, again, it's the path of least resistance. And if you look at Virgil Ortiz, I think last year he was number 1 in both the WBO and WBC. And, look, Terence Crawford's another guy. I don't care what anyone says. I think he's been incredibly avoided by a lot of people, not just Errol Spence. And I think this goes throughout his whole career. He's that difficult, that good at what he does. And they may have thought, you know what, we're not ready for this fight, and maybe we're better off taking our chances against a guy like Errol Spence in a Texas battle. Could be more money. The problem is that's a PBC Golden Boy thing. They weren't exactly breaking bread last year, but I don't see why Paco Barcarcel would lie about it. And I think he's exposing it now, because if you look at what's going on in the landscape, it's clear that Virgil Ortiz and Golden Boy are going the WBA route, as they're fighting an eliminator against a very tough, solid guy in Montes Stanionis.
Exactly.
Right. That answer your question, Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm very high on Crawford, too. I have been for a long time. In fact, I know that he hit, some people would say it was extremely light at 140. But at 140, that was probably his most, at his prime, his physical and, prime. I think at 140, Bud Crawford, I'm thinking back over my life, I'm like, who at 140 would, like you would say, oh yeah, he would beat Crawford. Like, I was looking back at 140 all the champions over my lifetime. I'm like, God, I'd put Crawford up against pretty much anybody. I thought he was that good at 140.
Yeah, Jimmy, you make an excellent point. Look, when he unified 140, was there exactly Frankie, Randall, Kostya, and Aaron Pryor? No. I think it actually was a relatively weak division, and they kind of picked their spots, and Top Rank made an investment to bring over Ndongo and his 2 belts. But I think he's excellent. I really do. You talk to people that really know the sport more than I do, the trainers and guys that really have an eye for this, they'll tell you Crawford is one of the most difficult puzzles ever to solve, and he can switch hit, and he's grown into his power. I don't think he's always been his best friend in terms of making certain decisions or the things that he's done. But look, there's a reason why Errol Spence and Al Heyman did not want this fight, or certainly were not in a rush to make it. But now, look, Father Time is tough to outrun. My understanding is, I know that there have been some talks between Golden Boy to make the Alexis Rocha fight. I was actually told that they were actually having discussions last week. I'm going to try to get some updates on that starting tomorrow. But it'll be interesting. Look, Virgil Ortiz is good, though. He's a dangerous guy who punches right down the middle. He's got better speed than what people believe. And let's be fair about it. I'm a big Duran Boots Ennis fan. But if you look at the actual resume and the guys they fought, and that's what that counts, he's fought much better guys than Boots. That's the truth. And so there comes a point in time where, look, if Spence and Crawford are not going to fight, there comes a point in time I would like to see the younger Turks take over, whether that's Stanionis, whether that's Ortiz or Ennis. Let's keep the traffic moving.
Yeah, he's in a tough fight against Royman Villa, the guy that beat Rashidi Ellis, I think, because he's kind of big, that guy, and he comes forward too. Royman Villa, he's got a solid chin. I think that's going to prove a lot, see how good Ennis really is. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ennis did not look good in his last fight against Karin, whatever his name is. But again, he hasn't fought all that much. If you go back, not only did he only fight 2 rounds against Custio Clayton last May, his fight before he only went 3 minutes against Delorme, right? Because they had that kind of clash of heads in the knockout. So I thought at a time where he needed a little bit more seasoning, he really hasn't fought all that much. So that is what it is. I hope that Boots Ennis has not already fallen into the twice-a-year mode. Because even though he has a lot of fights, a lot of those fights early on were very carefully handpicked. Let's just put it that way.
Oh.
Right. And the trainer I knew growing up, Ouchie McGinnis, he would always say too, he was a big proponent of making sure you spar different people when you do spar, because like he would say, I really don't like sparring because you develop more bad habits in sparring, especially if you spar the same person a lot. And some guys think they're gonna stay crisp by just sparring. What do you think about that, Steve?
No, the amount of sparring you get can be overrated. You better get good sparring. And I just think the problem is today's game, when you spar so often and you fight so little, you end up becoming a sparring partner, even as the A side. You don't even know it. And that's who you become. And I've talked to a lot of trainers about this who can't say it publicly because they'd ruffle feathers. They are actually now becoming very, very alarmed by the fact that their young fighters are not getting true rounds or enough fights. I find that interesting that even trainers are now saying, Steve, I wish we would fight more because I know what's going on here.
That's interesting, man. That's absolutely, that's an interesting point now that these guys aren't fighting. They're not going, but even if they go at 100%, and you've said that before, and Jimmy's reiterated that point as well, they're not exactly working. Their brain is not in the same scene. And speaking of sparring, have you, when Inoue was in California sparring, I think a couple of months ago, were you there or?
No, I was not there. Doug Fisher was there, and he wrote a full story on it. It was very good for Ring Magazine, and he got in there with some good guys. And so he wanted to kind of develop and see other styles. By the way, that Fulton fight's going to happen, guys. I know there's some data on that. I've heard the date will that be May 7th. So I know people, I think that's a done deal. I've been told the date of May 7th. So I know people are a little bit worried about that, but I pretty much put that on the calendar. So, and I think it was good for him. the one thing about Inoue that I think is very underrated, I actually think he's a very fast, quick fighter. It's not just power. He has a certain type of reflexes that are underrated. And that's going to be key against a really slick, well-schooled guy like Stephen Fulton.
Yep. It's just funny that sorry, go BDA.
Just a passing comment. That's one of the, believe it or not, I'm looking forward to that one more than Usyk Fury and Garcia versus Tank Davis. I mean, I don't know if that makes me a hipster or not, but that's the way it is.
Without a doubt, that's the fight I'm looking forward to the most, easily.
Because of the action, or what?
Yeah, Jimmy.
Go ahead,
guys. The two fights people really like as boxing purists, which I'm assuming we all are, since we're here, is Beterbiev against Bivol. Now, I don't know how realistic that fight is. My understanding is that, and I keep in touch with the Bivol camp pretty good, they're looking to fight in June. Believe it or not, and I think this fight is not something I would like to see. There's actually more talk of him fighting Munguia than I expected. Believe it or not. And which I think, to me, is not a real fight, okay? So, the problem with that matchup, Beterbiev-Bivol, is that you have a network conflict that's pointed out in my article, but you also have an issue. It's not a pay-per-view event. So that's the problem, is like, who gets it? How do you distribute that? Because Beterbiev is with Top Rank, which makes him an ESPN guy, and Bivol's last 6, 7, 8 fights have been with the Zone, and there's always the specter, and this does not have anything to do with networks. If Canelo decides that he wants to try to even up the score at any weight against Bivol, well, that is the biggest fight you can make from a prize fighting standpoint for Bivol. So keep that in mind. So I'm not that confident that Beterbiev Bivol happens in 2023.
Great.
Oh, what about Steve? That Bivol, he's the one that's mentioning that he's chasing belts, not actual money now, I guess.
No,
he's the one about
they
prestige.
All say that, but money matters. I don't, I get it. This is what they do for a profession. I just wonder, I was there, guys, about 3 years ago when Gavozic fought Beterbiev, and that was for 2 of the belts. That's an excellent fight. And I was in Philadelphia, old school fight town. They couldn't even get 5,000 in there. Because how do you sell 2 guys from that part of the world who are from that, what do you call it, the Eastern Bloc, whatever they used to call it, the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union. And so that's the issue, is that we could think that they're excellent fighters, and they are. Bivol is born in Kyrgyzstan, who now is Russian. Beterbiev is Russian, who now lives in Montreal. That's not exactly a recipe for drawing 20,000 people, but Top Rank has an issue. Beterbiev is getting close to 40. You might actually age out your own fighter if you wait too long.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. I'm going to ask you this. Did you guys see any type of physical erosion or Beterbiev going backwards against Yard? Because I did.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah, he did, though. It wasn't terrible, but he was bucking up.
I thought it looked like he wasn't reacting as quick as he did in times past. It almost like his body wasn't, like he wanted to do stuff his body wasn't doing.
It's still interesting, though, because he's got 100% KO ratio, and he's getting up there where he's on the level of, let's see if he breaks the Edwin Valero's record. Well, he won't, because, he's got only 20 fights, and he's older. But then the other guy, too, Bivol, he's stringing together a bunch of defenses. I think he's 3 of all time, or he's about to tie those 2 guys for most title defenses.
Really? Because I'll be honest with you, outside of Canelo, he had Joe Smith was a solid defense. His defenses have been kind of, but look, I think Bivol is a master fencer. I've watched him in the gym going back to the time when he first came here about 5 years ago. We used to see him a lot at Wild Card. I've seen him at 4 or 5 different gyms, and now his main gym in Southern California is Joel Diaz's gym out there in Coachella, which is a great facility. Bivol is a fine-tuned athlete. He really is. His ability to weave in and out seamlessly and control things like a fencer with that lead hand, and he actually punches a little bit better than people think. And the one thing that I noticed is I thought that the Canelo fight was really good for his confidence, because I thought that he boxed and fought with a certain assertiveness against Rodo Ramirez that I had not seen before, that he actually is an improved fighter. That experience was very good for him, and he's also just an extremely disciplined individual. And I get the sense that Bivol is at his absolute physical peak, while Beterbiev, as dangerous and good as he is starting that descent just a little bit.
Yeah. So Joel Diaz said, Steve, guys, that he'll have a bunch of guys training in this gym that you mentioned, but when Bivol's punching the bag, and let's say like the gym's alone, all the foundation and the structure of the metals that connect all the equipment, they actually reverberate, like they echo through the gym. So the guy, he says, this guy can punch.
You know,
you'll have a bunch of guys punching at the same time, and it ain't the same when this guy's punching alone.
Gonzalo, if you remember, when Bivol first came to America, he had a couple fights on Showbox against pretty solid journeyman developmental guys, right? Guys who had gone rounds with people, guys that you kind of knew, and they hadn't really gotten knocked out early, and he blew them out of there, right? And then he fought Trent Broadhurst on his HBO debut. I think it was an afternoon card in November, and he just iced the guy and won. So everyone thought, oh, this guy's a powerhouse, like a Golovkin, but he really isn't that type of guy. But you're right, Gonzalo. He can actually punch much better than people think. There was a stretch where I thought he kind of leveled out. I thought he got bored and complacent. But, you know, watching him up close, and I had a really good seat for that Canelo fight last year, seeing the mastery that he had, I just said, this is the guy that we thought we had. So I just look at it, even at his peak, Bivol's style is bad for Beterbiev. And if we are right that Beterbiev is now starting to go backwards, that style is really wrong for him.
Really wrong, yep. Well, Steve, to be honest, that's why I picked him to beat Canelo. This show, actually, I believe almost everybody on this panel picked him to beat Canelo, which is weird because, like, Tom Gray wrote that article saying nobody picked Bivol, which is so funny. Like, yeah. And even you weren't convinced. You weren't. You said you weren't too sure, but you would. I remember. I think how you wrote it. You would not be surprised in the slightest if Bivol beat Canelo, and even that was shocking to some people because a lot of people did think Canelo was going to beat him, but. For that extreme point that people didn't think this kid could punch, and I'm like, he can clearly punch. He's just not a part. That's not the angle he uses. Because how many rounds has he lost in his whole career? But a handful.
Yeah, and so I don't know what they're going to do. I was hoping that Bivol would be able to face Joshua Buatsi because that's his number one contender. I don't know if it's the full-blown mandatory yet, and Buatsi is seemingly not developed. It looks like he's just kind of leveled off under the direction of Virgil Hunter, and now Hunter, I think, came out and recently said, we're not ready for it. And so I'm like, wow, okay, so now, again, you have a number one contender basically saying we're not going to take a title shot. So they may be relegated to facing Munguia, and guys, we could be completely wrong. I don't see how Munguia wins a round against Bivol at 175.
Yeah,
or any weight, for that matter.
No, he doesn't. And I want to thank Will Boxing for his super chat. And yeah, Steve Kim already answered your question about Bivol and Beterbiev.
Now that you mentioned that, one thing that I was impressed with Munguia a long time ago when he fought Saddam Ali, and I know that was a smaller guy, and I know he catches a lot of punches. The thing with Munguia, he got good legs. He knows how to displace himself pretty good with the leg movement. He's pretty mobile. So I don't know if that will help him keep up with Bivol.
But Munguia, God, that's another guy that I think they're kind of babysitting and protecting. I actually thought he was getting a little bit better under Eric Morales, but I was hoping he would actually take on Janibek. I don't know if Janibek's going to get any better just fighting 13 times and now being a twice-a-year fighter. I thought Janibek looked pretty ordinary against Denzel Bentley. So that's kind of what's going on there, and I'm going to try to find out a little bit more about the Bivol situation moving forward. Guys, if you have any more questions, I'll jump out of here soon and let you guys get on with the rest of your program.
I got one question. I got a question. I don't know, you let me know if you don't want to get into it too much, but just one thing, though. Have you heard of what's going on between Nonito Donaire and his father?
I have, and it doesn't surprise me because I know that that's been a very contentious relationship for years. That is one of your classic father-trainer situations, and when money gets involved. A lot of this started with Nonito's relationship with Rachel. So this is ongoing. So this is ongoing for at least a dozen years. And there have been times that they've actually had, some harmony, and then, money goes on and people are left out of the camp. Things go haywire. I think it's really unfortunate. This is nothing new in boxing. I've seen a lot of situations like this, but I've never seen it air out as publicly, because I've seen some of the clips, and I'm just thinking to myself that if I was advising Nonito and Rachel, and I'm very good with them, I have a great relationship with them, I would just say, guys, you guys should just cuss out each other over the phone in private. I don't think that making this into a public spectacle really helps anything.
No.
Yeah, man.
Not with your father. It's just a bad look.
I just cussed out my father a couple of minutes ago before we were on the show. But also, some people are saying, I don't know. Some people are saying that they're getting Gene Mosley vibes from this whole scenario. But I guess it's to be expected, right? Like you mentioned, like when you have the wife, like a lot of wives I've noticed, they get involved, especially when they're in the managerial position. And when the fighter is being trained by the father, there always seems to be some rift. Am I wrong here? Am I imagining things, or is that something that's pretty common?
No, you're not wrong. I've had someone in boxing that's in a position of administration for a major promoter. Don't want to get into the name, but they told me, Steve, we've always had to deal with fathers as trainers. The fathers are now even worse because now they're trying to manage. So now they're in the business end. And I know veteran managers that have told me, Steve, we no longer want to manage anyone whose father's involved. Let these guys get a real job and stop leeching off their son. So that's always going to be something that's going to occur. I know it's cold, but it's the truth. So, I don't know if this situation is really any different than any other one, except they went on a live YouTube stream and aired it out. I would have just said, you know what, whatever problems we have, let's keep them in-house. Because Nonito's a Hall of Famer. I really like Nonito. He's a real gentleman. He really is. He's one of the friendliest guys you'll ever meet. I get along with Rachel. But my view is, whatever problems we have with the father and father-in-law, that should be kept in-house. That should never be made public in any way.
Exactly. You only got one father. Wives come and go. Not, no disrespect to Rachel, but it is what it is. It's your dad, and when he's gone, he'll regret it. But in the same token, that happens, like you said, a lot with boxers. There's a socioeconomic reality of the situation. Boxers usually come from, most likely, in most cases, poverty, and a lot of them do end up taking care of not just the immediate family, but the extended family. And what happens, people get used to it, and eventually you have to cut the spigot off, turn it off, and some people react negatively. I thought the father didn't do himself any favors saying, I want to see my son get beat up. But then again, just because your father crosses the line and says something stupid, you shouldn't.
Right, and just now you want to train people against your son, and I'm like, boy, that's some biblical stuff right there. Just,
Yeah.
That's very unfortunate. Look, Nonito's heading to the Hall of Fame. He is, and he's had a great career. I think he's going to be very good the rest of his life because he's pretty disciplined now as a human being, and I like Rachel. Look, that's not an easy role. You're going to take the slings and arrows, but I did not see the value in actually doing a live stream with your father, and then I was kind of like cringing as I saw that. I'm saying, God damn, someone give this the Richard Steele treatment and cut this shit off early.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Jerry Springer.
Right.
People are going to exploit that. So, yeah.
Anyway, guys, great show. I'll continue to listen here. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for joining.
Steve,
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. And good. I'm glad to hear the 3 Knockdowns coming back on. That was always my favorite podcast. Glad it's coming back.
Absolutely. All right, Jimmy. We'll keep in touch, though, brother. Stay well, guys. Everyone have a great weekend.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Peace.
That was Steve Kim. And, yeah, we'll post a link to that article, Jimmy.
Thank you.
That one that was posted on the ring. But yeah, just
I like Mario Lopez's vibe because he knows that Steve Kim knows a lot of boxing, so he tries to up his game to keep up with Steve. And actually, Mario does a lot of talking because he knows he's got to impress Steve Kim in the boxing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but he knows he's boxing too. That's what's good about the show, right? And they both love obviously boxing, so you can tell. Some other people, they don't even like talking about boxing. They just do it for views.
Well, in the actual metrics, you can actually gauge if somebody who's covering boxing, if they really know what they're talking about. Like there's some guys who are just more like TMZ or National Enquirer. They just want to do the gossip shit. But with Steve, there's a difference. He'll talk about fighters on the way up and he'll put his name to it, like this guy's going to be good. And if that guy doesn't pan out, it doesn't look good on him. But I would say 99% of the guys I've seen him say, hey Jimmy, pay attention to this kid, keep an eye on him. Anybody who's ever said that to me has always turned out to be the goods. And like he talked about Bam Rodriguez, somebody actually went on Twitter and he didn't. They went back into Twitter 2 years before the next guy even mentioned him. So he was talking about Bam. So he goes all out, and he's situated in the right area, Southern California. That's right now the mecca of boxing. And he's got a good reputation. And here's the key. You can get a bunch of knuckleheads saying stupid shit on Twitter because he's blocked them or because they're PBC pom-pom waivers and they want Steve Espinosa to like or retweet him, so they'll say something negative about Steve. But at the end of the day, the people who actually write, like Woods, the guy from New York Fights, all those guys, they'll all say it. Steve, I think he's the best. Even Michael Woods said it. He's like, nobody remembers the dates like him. Nobody has the eye part. And it's a shame because if he does eventually walk away, it'll be a black eye for the sport that they couldn't even keep him interested enough to stay with it.
That's true. That's a sign that things aren't going well for boxing. If he's getting bored of the sport. Let's take a 773. You're on the air. 773. Is that Kevin?
Jacob Paul. His name's Jacob Paul, and he let me down. He let me down big time. I'm devastated. I don't know what I'm gonna do. What am I gonna do, guys?
Listen, don't do anything crazy, all right? It's not worth it.
What am I? Oh no. Let's talk about it. Yeah. The thing is, he's not fighting an old man. He's fighting a young whippersnapper. That's why it's called a young man sport. And when you're fighting these old dudes, washed up.
Yeah.
Although I will say, Tyron Woodley win was a decent win. But Anderson Silva, dude's 47 years old. I don't care how good he was. I don't care how high level his striking is. At the end of the day, you should not be in the ring at 47 years old, especially against a young man, 27, 25 years of age, in his athletic prime. But I will say, he, at the relatively young age, he started boxing, or whatever it is. Tommy Fury's been boxing his whole life. He's got his older brother. He's got his dad as a nut job in his corner. He wasn't losing that fight. Unless they robbed him, he wasn't losing that fight. Mm-hmm. Jake Paul is all smoke and mirrors. He's a decent little boxer, but he's not world class. And that's how easy it is to manipulate the public. And we see this time and time again. You stick them in there with certain fighters and make them look good, and all of a sudden you actually face someone that's not a stylistic matchup for you, and you get beat. So that's what we learned there. No hot takes there. What do you guys talk about it? You just pretty much, I didn't hear the show in the beginning, but you pretty much said he got exposed. Game over. Jake Paul, what's he going to do now?
Well, yeah. I think, it's the novelty factor is over. A lot of people were following Jake's career because they wanted to find out how far he could go, but I think we already got an answer for that question, right? He can't go very far.
Yeah.
And I'd say that Tommy Fury's career is over too, because you won a split decision against the YouTuber, and you've been doing this since you could fucking remember. You should have, like you said, you were gonna fucking expose him. He put you on your ass, whether it was you were off balance or whatever the excuse is. You went down. So he doesn't walk away from this clean either. I think he might have won the fight, but he looks like a donkey.
Kevin?
Yeah, he's too focused with the social media and the little reality TV shit. He's not a real boxer like his brother. He's a pretty boy. So I don't think he's going far either. Jake Paul, I don't know. I think he's still got a career with the novelty stuff. He could do like the KSI stuff or the they got a bunch of that little celebrity YouTube boxing shit. I think he can make a career out of that, but he's got to take a step back. He's not fighting no more boxers with career or amateur pedigrees because they need to put him in there with someone he could knock out because that's what people want to see. You want to see them go in there and knock him out and put on a show. They don't want to see him fight these boxers because he don't belong in there with them. He ain't a boxer. He's a YouTube novelty act. That's what needs to be done. Other than that, was there any other boxing matches on this weekend? I haven't seen any.
Yeah, it was Matthias. He fought on Showtime, won the IBF super lightweight title. Probably didn't see it.
Okay. That's the dude that killed the Russian kid.
What's
right?
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
He was wearing a ski mask. He wore a ski mask to the press conference and on the way to the ring. Now, I was listening to Wild Rapid and they had Gene on. I don't know what his last name is, but apparently he's an insider with Matthias. He claimed that they told him put the mask on to intimidate him. And I was thinking, well, I don't know, man. That sounds like that's Bernard Hopkins used to do. I remember when Bernard Hopkins showed up to fight Tavoris Cloud, and he had a ski mask on with sunglasses on. And I'm thinking, I don't know. This is a guy that used to rob liquor stores in his youth. I don't think that was a good look for him. So I don't know what you guys thought about the ski mask thing.
Well, the executioner mask or the alien mask? Or the executioner one?
The ski mask, no, not the executioner mask, but an actual fucking ski mask that you would use.
Okay, I remember. That's crazy. He doesn't seem jaded by the fact that he killed some guys, so it's not affecting him. He even does the thing where he gestures that he's slicing the dude's neck with his hand to himself.
He's sick.
He'll go like this, like he's chopping up like with the Rambo knife. He'll do that sign with his hand.
All right. Kevin, anything else?
Oh, I don't know. Boxers do that all the time. They do the throat slash. I don't know if he's meaning anything
but after you kill somebody,
like, I killed someone. I don't think he's
he's
like
real
that.
good,
I killed
man.
someone in the ring. You're next.
He's beat up you on the... Yeah, go ahead there.
I don't know. What we got to look forward to? Any big fights on the horizon?
Well,
obviously not Devin Haney and Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. That hasn't been announced yet, is it?
Well, listen, Kevin, I think you're a little bit out of the loop here because we just had Steve Kim on. Apparently, a lot of the fights that were being mulled over and people were assuming that they were going to be done, they are indeed going to be done. Fulton versus Inoue, he said it's looking highly likely that it is going to get done. What's the other one he said? Garcia versus Tank Davis, or I should call him the Twink, the king of the Twinks. And what was the other fight he said was going to happen?
Lomachenko, Haney, I believe.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, that's So those are three big fights, quality fights, Kevin, that you can look forward to.
Quality shit. Well, I'll see it when I believe it when it comes to Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. I'll see it when I believe it. But, I missed the interview with Ryan Kim. I'm going to go back and watch it. I'll leave you guys to it, though. They take my call.
All right. Take care, man. That was...
All right.
Can I say something about... Let me know, Butcher, if I can jump in here.
Yes.
Gonzalo mentioned that Matthias killing somebody and that it didn't affect him. I don't know where I heard it because I was doing research for the Petro or whatever the guy's name is, the other Russian that he beat in his last fight, last fight. Anayan, yeah, thank you. And I'd heard or read back then that when he killed Petrovic or whatever the other guy's name was, it actually did affect him, and that's some people are saying that's why he lost to that dude afterwards, because he just didn't want to let his hands go, and then finally in the rematch,
yeah, that's true, BD.
Yeah, they say that happens. It's normal. Yeah, but he got it back.
Go ahead, Mucho.
No, I'm just saying he got it back. He got that aggressiveness back.
So yeah, BDA. So it's like maybe I think I heard that he didn't train. So maybe he was like depressed, and therefore he didn't train. Therefore, if you don't train properly, you're not going to be as good as you really are, right?
It could be, yeah, for sure. Hey, by the way, we have phone calls here, so let's take them before the time runs out on the thing. 205, you're on the air. 205.
Yeah, I don't pay per view.
What's that?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Hey, what's happening, man? Go ahead and shut the door there. What's happening, BDA? What's happening, Uncle Charles, man? What's happening? I ain't know I was on, man.
Oh, Uncle Charles, what's up, man? What's on your mind?
Man, let me tell you what's on my mind. Yeah, you want me to tell you what's on my mind, BDA? I'm going to tell you what's on my mind. Because, see, it needs to be said. And a lot of people just holding it in. But, goddamn it, I'm about to bust. Let me tell you something, man. If you watch Tommy Fury and this other guy, Jake Paul, that's his name, Jake Paul, if you watch that, I got no problem with it. But I want to ask my listening audience and my viewing audience something. Is there anything you got that you can do that day than watch that garbage? Because that's what it was. Pure garbage. Let me tell you something. I had more fun watching a beaver bathe his own ass down by a creek. I did. And now that should be on pay-per-view. That right there. And then we got Jeffrey Dahmer, which he ate his way through society. Got the #1 movie on Netflix. And he's dead. Maybe he's dead for eating too many people. And we gonna watch this garbage? Let me tell you something, BDA. This needs to stop. This stuff is gonna sooner or later come to an end, and we're gonna come up with a whole new generation of fighters and boxers. And I'm gonna tell you why. We got an old man in the neighborhood named Ranky Cheese. Don't ask me why his name Ranky Cheese. That's just what his damn name is. Let me explain something to you. He used to go to folks' funerals. He didn't know the people, but he went to the funerals because he got something to eat. You know, the family might be serving dinner. He'll get something to eat. If the funeral was on Tuesday, he ate dinner on Tuesday. If it was on Saturday, oh man, he got 2 dinners on Saturday. Because there'll be a bunch of people don't die. So let me tell you something. Then all of a sudden it happened. Ranky Cheese died. But he showed up this time, but he didn't get nothing to eat. You know why? Because he dead. It's dead. It's over now. You don't edit everybody's in you, and now somebody's going to get the chance to eat at yours. And this is what I'm saying. This is not going to last long. This foolishness on YouTube and this foolishness in this boxing. I want to see real guys go at it. I want to see legends made. I want to see guys say, I'm the undisputed champion. And we're not getting that. But it's so crazy to me, BDA, that these guys are killing each other for a little amount of money. And the promoters do not box. Now one of them got the hell knocked out of them, but they got all the money. Oh man, something is very wrong with society. And guess what? I'm one of them, because I'm here to tell you the truth. And that's all I got to say, BDA. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, great call, Uncle Charles. Great call. That was amazing.
Yes, sir.
Call back again, all right? No, that was Uncle Charles, and it's true. Although it seems like we're getting some good fights now, but we'll see, man. There's many other fighters that we don't know what the fuck's happening with their careers, right? I mean, we mentioned like three, 4 fights, and this is crazy. We have so many boxers, and we just mentioned, they're making Devin Haney against Lomachenko. Oh, they're making Tank versus Ryan Garcia. We mentioned like 3 fights, and we're all happy. But there's so many other boxers that we don't even know what the fuck's gonna happen with their careers.
See, that's the thing, Bucho. What happens when you enjoy something, when they starve you from it for so long, right? When you don't eat, say you're stuck in a desert, right? Yes. I don't give a fuck if the first thing you eat is the worst candy bar you've ever, the best thing you've ever tasted.
You're gonna drink your own
so piss. when they, exactly, when they keep you from something, when you're starved from something, whatever you put in your mouth tastes good. So you end up getting happy. Oh, look what we got. We got at least this. So you end up trying to, justify. That's what's happening right now. But if you step back and look at the big picture of it, this sports, as far as a fan is concerned, it just kicks you in the dick on a daily basis.
Jimmy, I just realized I'm going to speak for myself. I'm pretty pathetic. I mean, yeah, 3 fights, and I'm like, happy and stuff. But there's so many other fighters that, again, we don't know what's going to happen with them. But let's be grateful.
Like they want a cookie for doing the right thing. Like, you made the fight. Well, that was your job. Like, people giving, like, Davis, like, he's fighting. Yeah, he's fighting a kid who's 1 fight away from, being removed from a prospect. I mean, seriously, really? And so you avoid Lomachenko for 6 years. You avoid Haney, Shakur, anybody who has any real belt, jump around divisions, picking off baby belts against no-hopers, and you're going to get fucking, you want to be put on a platform, pedestal because you're finally fighting someone who has a chance of stopping you? Fuck out of here.
Yeah, I don't know. We should be at least we should be grateful for having some good fights, I guess. But there's still a lot of work to do for these promoters.
Time is the most important fucking commodity you have in your life. All of us. It's the most precious thing we have. And if a sports wastes your time, appreciate a good fight, but don't we can appreciate it, but I'm not going to overdo it.
No.
I'm still pissed. Sorry, Gonzalo, what was that?
No, I just thought of something, like I mentioned it already, like before. Man, Ryan Garcia needs to work on the right hand because he paused with it. I think Tank Davis is banking that if he gets past that lead left, he's going to fucking catch him because he thinks too much of the left hand. He's got to take a page out of Mauricio Lara, string it together with the right hand. Left lead, fucking right, straight right to keep that dude away from you because once he passed the first line of basically defense, he's gonna catch him, dude. He's got a good chance of catching that dude. I'm serious. Now I'm worried for fucking Ryan Garcia because he's got the ability. He just need to work on that right hand, man.
All right, Jimmy.
What's that?
Before we continue, let me just take a phone call because the time's gonna run out. There's one last call here. 210. You're on the air. 210.
Yeah, it was a great fight last night. I thought. First of all, I thought that Punch real good skill set, and it was awesome the way he came out guns blazing. It obviously worked out against him in the long run. Really impressed by Matthias. What do you guys think of a Prograis Matthias fight? After that fight last night, feel very, very confident that Matthias could beat him or will beat him.
Yeah, I heard that yesterday night on other shows that Matthias would beat Prograis, and people were very confident about that. I'm still on the fence. I think it's a close fight. What do you guys think?
I think it's a good fight, and if anybody got a chance, I think it's Prograis because we know that guys that punch average and just slightly above average, fucking Matthias walks them down. But I think that Prograis hits hard enough that he's not just gonna fucking continually walk forward like he does and throws 90 punches around. He'll still do some of that and try to walk Prograis down. But Prograis slips and catches him with a good body shot because he's left-hander and catches him with a hard shot upstairs. That might detour Matthias, but I still favor Matthias, actually.
Yeah, but he did get shook up in the first round though against Ponce. He got buzzed.
Yeah, but I mean, also we can talk about his chin. Gonzalo, what do you think?
His chin, he's solid. The reason he's been pushed around every now and then because when he's coming forward and like all these undefeated fighters that he's retired on the stool, man, they feel like they're getting pushed back. They're gonna hit you with their best Sunday punch, and sometimes he's been hit and he's been dropped. One time against Petros Anayan, Lakumbayev, I forgot his name. The other Russian shook him. The thing with him, he throws 60-70% of his power. He doesn't go full-fledged 100%. And that gives him the ability to continue throwing, and he stays calm. So slowest moves, moves as fast. He doesn't string together 3-punch combinations. He'll throw 1s and 2s. But he'll throw 90 punches per round. So he's actually he's just consistently throwing punches. And it's interesting, he's got all knockouts except that one that he lost, but later he avenged. But if you look at his record, he doesn't have KOs, one punch where he's flattened dude and that's it, he don't get up. No, they're all TKOs and RTDs. So that means he's the opposite of a one-trick pony. He doesn't want to blast you out with one shot. He'd rather throw 60-70% of the power, but think of the next punch, the next and the next. So he's kind of unstoppable. But if somebody will stop him, it's a guy that hits hard like Prograis.
Yeah, and anybody can be buzzed in the first round. You're cold. That's the worst time to take a big shot when you're cold.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Caller,
the thing with him, I don't think he'll have a long career because he does get hit a lot. He's got a tough chin. He's kind of let's say Julio Cesar Chavez, but he doesn't move the waist. He's just coming forward in a straight line and he's catching shots. So basically, based on your toughness, yeah, you're strong. Your offense is your defense, but sooner or later you're gonna get broken down.
Caller.
Maybe 5-6 defenses, he's going undefeated, then he loses.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll let you guys take this one and I'll hang up. But who are the names thrown out for William Cepeda for the April 22nd card? And also, another fight I'm really looking forward to is Butayev and Mean Machine. I think that's going to be a fun fight. That's it, guys. Have
All
a good
right,
one.
thanks for the call, man. Call back again. Take care. Do you guys know what the names were about with Cepeda? What were the names?
Butayev versus Mean Machine. I didn't know that was at play. That's gonna be action back right there.
That's a good one. BD. I think Roman Villa versus what this fucking dude's name, man, dude. Keep forgetting. Boots Ennis. And Cepeda versus Ryan Martin, the guy that just played Michelle Ali. Right?
Fuck, I don't remember.
You know Ryan Martin, the ghost? He's with, who's he with?
Who is that?
He's with,
you know Michelle Rivera, Bucho?
Oh, I have to look it up. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
that guy.
All right.
I'm not over.
Yeah, he's 27 years old. He hits pretty hard. I think he beat fucking Virgil Ortiz in his last amateur fight, and then Ortiz became professional. But Ryan Martin, yeah, he's 27 and undefeated. He's got a high KO ratio. He just beat Michelle Ali Rivera. Yeah, he's fighting Camarón Cepeda.
And you know Virgil Ortiz, people will talk about his amateur record, how it wasn't, overly impressive, but that's because he's just not built for the amateurs. That's not his style. You know that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he got dropped too by that dude Ryan Martin. He's pretty good, Ryan Martin.
Yeah, that's a good fight, I guess. But I want to see Cepeda. Like, I think he's ready for a title shot. But then again, the division is a little bit complicated right now, so to move ahead.
I'd like to say too, honestly, if Ryan Garcia would have got 2 more fights in against quality opponents, I would have liked his chances to probably even beat Tank. I just don't think he's fought way too infrequent, and he hasn't fought enough good guys, and he's never fought anybody who hits as hard as Tank, even though he's short. He's going to have to creep up. But there was a lot of stuff Joe, his trainer, couldn't fix in one training camp. And I think he's only had, 1 or 2 training camps with them now. It's just he had way too many flaws to fix in those 2 camps, and I think he'll get exposed. His head up on the line, doesn't move it, chin up in the air like that. I think he's eventually going to get caught and folded.
Interesting.
The thing... Yeah, go ahead, BD.
No, I was just thinking about where we can go with this talk now, but go ahead.
I just think it, but my wife stepped. I lost my train of thought. My wife stepped in, told me something. Hey, with Ryan Garcia, I actually think he's one of the hardest punchers in boxing, and maybe not now, like actually because he's still developing into his man strength. But based on the speed and the heavy-handedness, he's gonna be a fuck. He already hits really hard per square inch, according to his trainer, Goosen. But man, dude, that guy hits really fucking hard, Ryan Garcia. People don't notice that about him. I think he is pound for pound one of the hardest hitters. Maybe later when he grows into his mastering.
Well, if most of his strength, I think a lot of it's developed, comes off his speed. Like I said, it's so quick. People don't see it, they don't expect it, and there's nothing worse than a shot like that you don't see or expect. They always feel a lot harder than they were. But Jimmy, he does have an incredibly fast, hard check hook that can hurt people.
Is speed power?
Exactly. Speed is power.
No, it is, because I remember that happened with Roy Jones when he moved up in weight to fight John Ruiz. The Roy Jones trainer at the time, he's like, people don't understand that speed is power. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I guess the physics of it, like something going, but I don't know. Just sounded weird.
And I guess too, Bucho, Jimmy, because like when he's standing and is like, for example, his boxing stance, and the hook, it kind of disappears from you a little bit because it comes from the side. So people are expecting a jab in a straight line. So when he fucking does the little like shimmy with the hands, like side to side, a little bit like Roy Jones, boom, he catches you with the hook, and you don't see it. You don't see it, and it's sudden because it's right next to your head, right next to your face.
Yep.
The lead hand.
And it's fast. But like you said, if Tank breaks through that first line of defense, that distance where Ryan can throw long range punches, he's pretty much his chin is in the air, like Jimmy's saying. And that's what concerns me about Ryan Garcia on the inside.
Well, I mentioned it, Mucho, because I think he lifts his chin up because he counts on his reflexes. I've talked about it. Maybe I'm boring people. It's like the eagle eye. You know, he's cocking his head up. You know, like when you grab a 2x4 and you want to see how straight it is. Like basically, he's reading your dimensions. Like think of like, for example, RoboCop when he's got the face mask on and you get the little visuals with the little sensors looking. He's cocking his head up because he's gauging how far you are from his wheelhouse. So he counts on his reflexes. As soon as you step that boundary, when he sees that you're stepping into his wheelhouse, that's when he'll swing the hook. That's why he's cocking his head up. Because, you know, it's just like when you got a weapon, Jimmy, and you're pointing from a high spot. And you're really trying to like see how far you can fucking point and like how straight you're basically from the peripheral. So I mean, I guess that's a mistake, but it's because he counts on his reflexes. He knows he's that fast. That's why he's doing it. He's got the eagle eye, bro.
And you know what? It's in his along with the head up, which you can overcome that. I don't like the K stance either. He's got kind of that straight back leg straight and that front leg forward, and he kind of drags the back leg back. That K stance isn't conducive for moving around. I hope if I was Goosen, I'd have him bend that back leg a little, kind of bend it that waist more and snap his jabs, throw him at his chest, because he's going to be throwing punches down, which actually takes power off your punches, not, you know, doesn't add to it. So the best punch when you fight a shorter guy is obviously your check hook and your uppercut. Those are your two best, because when you're fighting a shorter guy, the uppercut, you can really plow it in, and also the check hook. But he's going to have to catch him just right. And I don't know if he's going to even try to jump in. Is he going to try to let him see if he can get tired? I don't know.
Yeah.
This could be a boring fight in the first few rounds.
Jake Colt in the chat says Garcia has that Amir Khan vibe about him. He better catch Tank quick, though night otherwise. I think it's good night otherwise. What do you guys think? Garcia has the Amir Khan vibe?
I don't know, man.
What's
Campbell was, I think he's tall too and really, really long arms, and it's also he's left-handed. So where that left came, I don't think that Ryan was expecting for him to reach out and touch him from that far away, so he kind of didn't anticipate that. But with Tank Davis, he's short, dude, and I think Tank's best punch is the left uppercut, the left hand. He's gotta turn that shit over from afar. So as long as Ryan doesn't get on the inside, no, if you give him a free shot, he'll knock you out. Doesn't matter if he's fucking Amir Khan or not. That dude hit hard, that little motherfucker, fucking Tank Davis. But I'm saying, if you take away the leverage, if you don't give him the leverage, and you don't fall within the length of him hitting you with a lot of power, he could take a lot of power away from Tank Davis' shot. Just don't sit in there. Yeah, with Campbell, he threw a long left. He wasn't expecting that, but he's got to be on his P's and Q's.
And he also wasn't shook. That's a big thing. You can get a flash knockdown, you know, which, you know, it could spark you for a second. But when he got up, his eyes were fine. You know what I mean? His eyes were fine. They weren't all over the place. There was no residual effect. So that tells me. So it doesn't mean he has a bad jaw, but it's just the optics of it getting dropped by Campbell instantly put everybody into the see. But then again, what happens when you have a fighter like him? There's going to be a lot of preconceived perceptions about that kid. Remember, he's a twink. A lot of people didn't like him. Everybody expected him to get exposed. So when you're looking for something, it's a lot easier to find it. And it's a lot easier to like back up your feelings because you can find it if you're looking that hard for it. So if people want to say, oh yeah, he looks like an Amir Khan, I could see that if that's what you thought of him going into the fights. I'm not saying that's what this guy who just said it. I'm just saying in general, there was a lot of people who remember. I mean, think about the stuff that was said about that kid. Nobody took him serious, remember? The shit was said about him back when he first came along.
I think if he gets off the canvas, he give you know what Ryan actually gives me? He gives me Oscar De La Hoya and Tito Trinidad vibes. When they get knocked down, they get up and they become more of an animal. So if he's able to, if let's say for example, Tank knocks him down, but Ryan, wounded animal, dude, it's fucking dangerous because he knows everything's on the line, right? Everything is on the line for Ryan, so he's gonna go like he did against Campbell. He's gonna try to knock him out, man.
Hey, by the way,
Jimmy, you know when Tank Davis was getting fucking bamboozled by Santa Cruz, Tank couldn't line him up for his left hook that easily, and that's a guy that can't punch. Ryan Garcia fucking he catches you with speed and power. What are you gonna fucking do? You're gonna back into a little fucking corner. You're gonna become like a little ball.
I think people are are focusing too much on that knockdown that Ryan Garcia suffered against Campbell. Because like Jimmy said, if you're looking for something, you're gonna look at that shit. I mean, that guy flat on his back, like he just boom dropped like that. Now, what's a good chin? Trinidad and Marquez, for example, they would get dropped often, but they weren't wobbling once they got back up. They weren't like Amir Khan wobbling all over the ring, like they looking like they're drunk. They actually that's a good chin in my opinion. If you manage to recover after you hit the canvas.
Yeah, that's like would say a good chin. Like I'd say an elite chin would be like Triple G. That dude just takes. I've never even seen him fucking rocked, and he's taking big shots. So like that's like an elite chin. So yeah, I didn't see him get rocked. I just know that problem too. I wish he wasn't such a pure counter puncher because that's what Ryan Garcia is too. I think it would behoove him to be if he's going to be more pushing the action with Tank because he's the bigger guy. He needs to insert his bigness. He needs to let him know he's bigger. Like rough his ass up in a clinch. If there's a little bit of a clinch, elbow right across his face. Be a prick.
He needs to insert his bigness. He needs to get in that ass. I mean, come on, Jimmy. What's going on here?
Jimmy, tone it down, man. It's a family show.
Tone it down a little bit. So yeah, it's a Sunday show and everything.
Just spit on it. No lube.
Okay, come on, man. Come on. No, but Jimmy makes a good point, though. But I will say, I'll just say one thing, though, Jimmy. Ryan Garcia has been fighting like the bigger men. In the last 3 fights, he walked Campbell down, he walked Goy down, or tried to, just couldn't get him out of there, and he walked Fortuna down as well. Now, but do you agree that you shouldn't try to do that too much, though, against the counterpuncher Tank Davis?
Well, at distance, you can walk him at distance. Don't like crowd yourself, because like Gonzalo said, there's a lot of real estate to cover to get the punches that Tank. His best punches are going to be hard. He's not going to be able to throw them from distance, so he's going to have to be inside. And when you come inside, crossing that no man's land is where he's going to be receptible for that check hook. And that check hook is nasty. You know, Garcia's got a check hook. So to Tank's benefit, though, I've never really seen him get super rocked. You've seen him rocked a little, but he's got a gallon neck. He's the reason why they call him Tank.
He fought a big puncher.
But that doesn't mean he can't get taken out.
Jim, what's the last big puncher that Tank Davis faced? Or who's the bigger puncher he's ever faced?
Well, it will absolutely be Ryan. No questions asked. Ryan will be the heaviest puncher he's ever faced. Outside of that, I can't think of one. I don't. Maybe the fucking Pitbull Cruz, and he's not a one-shot power puncher by no stretch of the imagination.
He looked like Mike Tyson against that other guy. Who the hell? I don't know who he was fighting. Remember he fought some Mexican?
That one dude, Samudio, who used to take care of Eddie Reynoso's dogs, but Eddie Reynoso fired him. The guy that's got like a hamburger face that used to work with Reynoso. He went to Garcia's camp. He took his backpack over there, and the pool noodle started working with Ryan Garcia. I guess Ryan Garcia felt bad for him. He said that when he was holding the mitts for Ryan Garcia, when Ryan Garcia throws that chick hook, he says, I put my hands in the mitts, and that dude cracked me in the mitts. I had to take my fucking mitt off and put a piece of duct tape on the bone. You know that bony area on the palm?
Right.
Because he said, I take another shot to the palm of my hand, this motherfucker's going to break my hand. So the speed and power, man. It's true, Jimmy.
The power is real. That's the thing. These people that favor Tank Davis to win, that's fine. You know, I mean, obviously, they bring some arguments. But some of the arguments they bring is, is that Tank cannot be hurt. He won't get hurt by Ryan Garcia. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's actually Ryan Garcia's best attribute, in my opinion, the fucking power. That left hook.
Yeah. Yeah, but we know what. Come on, we know what the people you're talking about.
Well, Jimmy,
they,
I think Jimmy,
you know
sorry
what
to
I
cut you
mean?
off. Yeah, these people. Now, if Tank loses, I'm concerned that there's gonna be a lot of people that might hurt themselves. If you know what I'm talking about.
Well, the Vegas odds for the fight, I guess they already put out some Vegas odds. I guess it's 11-1. Garcia stops Tank, and 2-1 that somebody gets shot outside in the parking lot if Tank loses.
Oh yeah,
So-
absolutely. No, if people in the chat don't know what I'm talking. I'm talking about the LDBC because I remember when Lomachenko beat Rigondeaux, some of these guys, I'm not gonna say who they were losing their shit, live streaming it, saying that they wanted to grab a gun and go shoot somebody or something like that. Like they were just
78 Sports.
Oh yeah,
said it.
What was he?
I feel like getting my pistol and shooting somebody.
Yeah.
We get accused.
No, go ahead. Oh shit.
They make they come up with 1,000 excuses. The LEDs in the eye, the costume was too heavy. He got drugged. He got raped. Just excuse after excuse. That sounds like people that are way too invested in the fight. From an emotional standpoint, than people are just watching boxing as a hobby. But I just want to touch on one thing too about the matchup itself. Ryan Garcia, I said this on Friday, but I just want to reiterate. He has to go in there with the mentality that early on he will not be catching Tank Davis with big shots. Because if Tank Davis fights the way he's been fighting his last 3-4 fights, he's going to go in there and try to flip the script on the taller guy. He's going to move. He's going to be in the defensive. He's going to get by one shot at a time. And then maybe later on he'll turn it up. So the thing about Tank Davis is when he gets on the defensive, he's pretty slippery. And on top of that, he's already short. He makes himself shorter when he changes levels. So Garcia has to be cognizant of the fact that you're not going to catch him with the big shots early on. Tap him with the jab, tap him with the right hand, tap. If you're going to go with a power shot, go with a power shot downstairs. And all that often, because then you leave yourself open against a shorter guy. But that's what he needs to do. If he goes in there swinging and he's not anticipating getting fitted by Tank Davis's defense, he's going to get even more frustrated. He's going to think, oh my God, this is supposed to be happening. This is supposed to be easy for me. That's going to be the downfall. He needs to go in there and be cognizant of the fact that he will not be teeing off on Tank Davis early on.
Yeah.
Great point.
And
somebody, the 8 count said that Luke Campbell is a better win than anything on Tank Davis' record. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, first off, I'd agree with that. Absolutely. I agree with that assessment. And I want to say, too, the reason why I said that for the shooting, 2 of his last 3 fights, there was gunplay at his fight. There was a shooting at the Barclays Center. That's what caused the stampede. And there's 2 people got shot outside of the place in Atlanta. 2 people got robbed and shot outside there. So it is what it is. But I think that it would be really ugly because you said a lot of people are emotionally invested. The same thing with Wilder. And one of those kids on Twitter, that kid Artman, although I probably shouldn't have given the press, but he's still going on about Wilder. The other day, it's been a year since he was cheated and drugged. He's still pushing all the same shit.
Fight,
and of course they use it's a fact. They even it's a fact. Really? How's it a fact? And then if you even ask him a straight question, which I didn't, because I'm not going to interact with that fucking knucklehead. But I just want to ask him. Okay, let's assume you're right. Let's go with your theory. Why the people who invested, Shelley Finkel, people who invested time and money in this guy never said anything? So if you're saying that you know it's a fact, he was cheated, he was drugged, why would his people, his handlers, let him go back into the same place where they cheated him? And if they did cheat, that means the sanctioning body had to be involved, the Nevada State Athletic Commission had to be involved. There had been so many people involved in that to happen, and you let them go back to the same place. So that right there, and the fact that none of those people, his manager, his handlers, none of them ever said anything. Never even, fucking condoned any of this shit Wilder was saying. So that in itself, if JD's was saying it to Finkel, we think there was foul play, maybe you would say something. But the fact that those people are just silent tells you what it was. And the rest of it's emotionally fucking racially insecure fools. Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
I've been watching boxing for over 20 years.
What?
And this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. This is the weirdest thing. These type of accusations that are not followed up by any, like you said, the promoters, managers from Wilder's camp, from Wilder's side, don't even mention that, even mention that that they wanna look in. They're gonna look into nothing. Like it's only a certain fan base, and then Wilder can also brings it up, but not really brings it up. It was so weird, man. The weirdest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. And I want to just predict. I want to predict, Jimmy, just quickly. I want to predict that if David loses, not only will some of these people act in a weird way where they say they're gonna probably hurt themselves, but they're gonna come up with crazy ass excuses, and I'm gonna be ready for those excuses. And I'm gonna be able to create a lot of content. Let me just tell you that. I'm gonna be able to make another.
Yeah, it's true, and that's definitely. I mean, the evidence is there that they'll shoot, they'll get crazy when Tank Davis fights. There's that weird energy, man. I remember when I was in the military. Fucking, you know how they say that in the Waffle Houses, shit breaks out and people get shot and fucking people fight. It's true. You get those energies in the tank fights at 2-3 in the morning in the fucking Waffle Houses, because I used to be stationed in Atlanta, Georgia. Close to Atlanta.
Yeah.
From Savannah. 2-3 in the morning, man, motherfuckers, like, they'll want to fight, dude, for whatever reason. So this is kind of like Tank Davis's fan base.
Exactly.
They're just looking for excuses. That Meek Mill, that place is like next to ringside. It also happened last fight. People, it's just that fucking weird energy, man.
Against the Russell brothers. Yeah, in a big fight broke out in the stands that the fucking fighters literally stopped in the middle of the ring and started watching the fight in the audience. It was just, when your targeted audience is World Star, that's just, you got to get what it is. But Jimmy, it is. I'm not going to fucking sugarcoat it, because you go to these people's Twitter account and their motherfuckers are the ones all day calling everybody racist. Everybody's racist, but yet they completely pick their fighters by their skin color. And it's one thing, you want to be tribalistic, whatever. You want to go with your people, fine. But there's one thing with going with your people, you don't have to denigrate everybody else's.
I like
that's
the
the difference.
It makes for a more exciting fight. You have two sides. Like I love the Mexico Puerto Rican fights. You know, it's a rivalry. That's it. It's nothing personal, right? But Jimmy, I was gonna ask you. It's the fight. It's in Las Vegas. Is security better than what it is in wherever they made these fights in the East Coast?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what about the Las Vegas shooter?
The Vegas, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, but that's suspect itself too. But no, the Vegas cops don't fuck around. They're one of the they're one of the heavily financed, the very well financed police department. They got all that military gear too, and the stormtroopers show up all dressed up. Yeah, no, because of where they're at. Obviously, if you're a terrorist, just saying you wanted to pull off something, because of Vegas, how it is, it's always got a lot of people there, and because of that reason, yeah, it's not a place to fuck around. They don't fuck around there. They cuff you up quick in Vegas.
In the chat,
yeah, but we'll tell that to the. I mean, I know he's dead. The guy that shot up the people in the MGM Grand. That was fucking crazy.
Fucking crazy guy. Yeah, conspiracy. Jump Tube in the chat says they better have the metal detectors out for that fight. Yes, they should do it like when Johnny Tapia fought his rival. What was his name in Arizona?
The Johnny Tapia?
Yeah, he had
Ali Ayala?
No. Before that, he was another guy from the same state, I believe.
Well, and there's nothing new about that. They've been using wands, the metal detector wands at events, concert events, and fighting events for years. They should do it in Atlantic City. I mean, I would at tank fights. I mean, there's been shootings at 2 fucking events. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's not.
And LDBC didn't even hide the fact that they weren't targeting. Well, that's just the hardcore fucking boxing fan and Twitter fans. We're not, that's not his targeted audience. So they didn't even hide who it was. There's a reason why he would try to make everything tribalistic. They knew who the crowd was. And it's the same thing with the LDBC. Just they push a narrative because that's what the people who follow them want to hear. They completely exist in an echo chamber. They don't allow anybody to get on their fucking chat and even say anything in the live chat. They'll just time you right out. Mm-hmm. I mean, they don't want to hear nothing. Nobody pushed back. So when you live in that, and you ever notice none of them are on Twitter. None of those motherfuckers will push weird conspiracy theories because they can't. They have to answer for the shit they say. and they don't.
They
So
can't breathe at
they're
times.
healthy and they're the ego boxing type people. He don't fuck with Twitter. He just blocks you in a second because nothing he says holds up to scrutiny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, I think they
Yeah,
can't
it is
read
going
it
to
right.
turn racial. Be prepared. If Ryan Garcia beats Tank, they're going to inflict some pain on the fucking paletero, man, on the fucking street vendors. The Mexican fucking street vendors are going to pay the price.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, just by Bucho, just the tweet you put out. Remember the one you put out last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, whatever? But you took all the avatars of people who said stupid shit or whatever, and you put it out in a tweet that was very popular. You saw the comments. These fake ass Mexicans. Wait a minute, what? Like, it's just insane. Yeah, it's all about because you're racist. So it just gets down to the point. Okay, I'm racist because I'm pointing out the racially motivated shit you're saying. You know what I mean? You people make everything racist about race, and then when you point out to them, well, you're only pointing it out because you're racist.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond laughable, bro.
By the way, in the chat, hit the like button. We're at 81 likes, and we have like 145 viewers. This is very low. I expect 90 likes, please. No, but if you like the show, please hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe. And when we're talking about these people, we're talking about the LDBC. Let's not make it here like we're talking about like making it racial. It's the LDBC. If you don't know what the LDBC is, just look it up. Type in LDBC and you'll figure it out yourself. All right.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's
that's exactly what it is.
Terrible fan base. They made a lot of excuses.
Well, you even had one of them. I remember he was it's the one who he said he was hoping that Tyson Fury's Sugar Hill died in a fiery car accident. Well, you heard that him and that Fartman, the kid who steals shit off Twitter. People's pictures, and he sells them on sweatshirts. But he went out and remember he made that video. It's official with the sirens on Twitter. It's official. Anybody uses LDBC, that's a code word for the N word.
Yeah.
So if you called them LDBC, in actuality, you were calling them blank. That's wow.
I asked people, some of these guys, and actually some of them have jumped on the show. They called in, and I asked them, what's the meaning of the LDBC? What is it? And they can never answer. They don't want to answer because they will have to admit what it is, and they know what it is, but they know it sounds bad, so they just go like, "Well, you know what it is." No.
Greets with fire. Remember that fucking dude? Who? Come on here running his mouth. Greets with fire. He's back on Twitter. He's been kicked off like 5 times since that loss. He starts new accounts, but his name was Greets with Fire. I'll never forget his name because he was one of the guys who swore he was going to call back after the 3rd fight. Because we said, dude, you're saying all this shit now, but after if fucking Tyson Fury wins again, we're not going to hear from you. And we never heard from him, but he was on Twitter making sure to call everybody in his show racists. He's on with the fucking OG Lefty or whatever his name is from Chicken Talk and all those guys.
Jimmy,
it's always the same thing.
Jimmy, I'm getting a feeling
if you can't back up with what's that, brother?
Sorry, because my mic's low. I'm just getting a feeling that a lot of boxers or people outside the YouTube boxing community, because not everybody listens to the YouTube boxing community, right? A lot of these boxers, they are beginning to know that there's this group. My connection.
I can hear you. What were you saying? You feel fighters are starting to catch up to it, starting to realize what's going on?
Yeah, I thought you couldn't hear me because it turned red. Anyways, they're realizing there's this group that's called the LDBC. Like they know about them now.
Well, Ishii Smith, ex-champion, he was with the PBC, called him out big time. Terence Crawford just called ego and fan on boxing, told him to get their fucking, their mother should have swallowed them. He called them liars and shit. They can say what they want, but that's embarrassing when you got a fucking, somebody of Crawford status going on Twitter and calling you a liar, just calling you straight out liars, and they are. I mean, he just in the ego with the Porter thing, taking a quote that Porter never even said. In fact, he wrote it down in the subscription, and then he said it different than what Porter said. And then that dude Haymanites put him on blast because he said that he's only taking the Porter fight because there was no other options, and quote by Porter. And then there was Porter like a week earlier, of course, Ego, they never do any research. They just say whatever they're feeling. They wake up and they say, what can I say to fire up the people who follow me?
Exactly.
And so, and it's whatever narrative comes off the top of their head. And so that dude put together a bunch of tweets and sayings like, you got Porter. Oh, yeah, no, I was totally shocked. I didn't see this fight coming. I called my father and I told him, we didn't even see this coming. So Porter completely blew up his fucking narrative, but he doesn't address it. Or when he said that after Tyson beats Ortiz, Tyson Ortiz too, he was going to become the face of boxing. Remember who said it and give me my credit. That was what he fucking said, remember?
Ortiz,
and then he did
Ortiz.
abysmal numbers, right? And just forgets he said that. So it's one thing after another to expose himself. Fucking Dante's boxing. He just did a video last week, and the racist old media didn't see this fight coming, took them by surprise. And then fucking somebody posted a bunch of articles written 6 months, almost a year earlier, that, it was August. There was one where, Ray Breed said that he didn't believe that he called Fulton out by name, and he did in August of last year. 6 months before any of this fight was even really getting talked about. He was saying, when I'm done with 118, I'm going to 122 for one person, Fulton. That's who he wanted, because he knew it's the toughest fight at 122.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with these things. But I just want to say something here quickly with the likes. We got to 90 likes. That's pretty fast. I guess now the next step is to get to 100. So let's get to 100 likes, people. And Jimmy, you want to listen to something interesting here? Were you on the last Friday? Yeah, you were, but before you jumped in, I talked to Rare Breed, and we accessed the BDA records because I am now taking not predictions, but comments. Certain comments I will add to the BDA records, and on the BDA records, I found that Rare Breed said that on October the 17th, he said Tank will whoop Ryan Garcia. Okay. I confronted Rare Breed about that prediction. It's his prediction. I respect it. But now he tried to change the prediction because he said whoop. So, Jimmy, do you think now that the fight's happening, some people are going to actually start to change their predictions? Not maybe change who they think is going to win, but maybe claim that it's going to be closer? Then they're
no, of course they'll back off. I mean, because remember, to a lot of these guys, a Tank was nothing. He was a twink. He was literally gay. You know what I mean? He was just a gay dude on Instagram. He's not a real champion. Yeah, I mean, they were saying that Tank he would never want to fight Tank. That was a lot of their thing. He'll never see him fight Tank. And come to find out, it was Garcia who pushed for that Tank fight. I was going to say, too, Dante, he actually put out a video saying how Fulton made the Inoue fight happen. It was Fulton who went after fucking Inoue. That was another thing he said. And here's a guy with 260,000 subscribers, 250,000 subscribers. He's putting that out. And then, of course, you see them same knuckleheads on Twitter. Well, Fulton made this fight. It was Fulton's idea. It's like, no. Fulton's only taking this fight because he has no options, because the other fight fell through. Figueroa went a different direction. Who was he going to fight after that? For pennies on the dollar would compared to what he'd make to Inoue. And again, props to him for taking the fight, but Fulton's a tough kid, good fighter.
Yeah, he's a good fighter.
He's got talent and shit, but
he wants to fight Inoue. No problem with that. He wants to fight Inoue. No problem with that. But obviously, because of his skin complexion, he has that fan base that's following him and making pretty bold predictions. To be honest, I mean they really don't. I don't know if they know who Inoue is or what, but they seem to be pretty confident about Fulton beating Inoue.
I have no idea. Most of these guys, I've seen them in my Twitter feed when I've tweeted about Inoue, the shit they said. Who's he's ever beat? He's never beat anybody. When you actually look at his resume, it's actually excellent. I mean, he's beat. I mean, in the Super Series, those 4 wins, he got to win the Super Series. Every one of them, the lowest ranked guy was 5th overall worldwide. Most of them were number 2, number 3. Have even gotten better since. Was that one guy, Navarrete or whatever? He was like 48-0-1, and he was never down in his career. And he fought Donaire at his prime, when Donaire was at his prime, and he didn't even put him down. Inoue obliterated him in 2 rounds. He did that with Rodriguez. He did that with fucking Donaire blew him out in 2 rounds. So yeah, and again, it's always so when you come at me. Once I see you tell me, "Oh, he's never fought anybody," who's ever fought? But then in the second breath, they'll say, "Well, you'll say, okay, have you ever seen him fight?" And they don't want to admit, but they've never seen him fight. They don't know anything about his resume. What it comes down to, he's a fucking Jap. How can a Japanese guy be any good? You can blindfold these people with dental floss. You know what I mean? Fucking so that's their attitude. It is what it is.
I agree.
Yeah, it's an exciting fight, and they're gonna find out real well. I mean, Fulton's gonna find out real quick, and people are gonna see that the Japanese dude, when he hits you, it's what you call paralyzing power. He'll make you freeze in place and fall like a fucking tree in one direction. Boom. Yeah. Face first or on your back. And you won't even like get to bend your limbs. You'll just fall like a fucking piece of plywood, like a piece of board. So if he touches this dude, the power carries, it's like things can change in an instant. He's gonna fucking fall over.
The fact he walks around at 140 something pounds, the power is going to carry because he's going from 118 to 122. Remember that when he on fight night, he's probably fighting at 126 when he was fighting at 118. Probably in the ring that night at 120, between 126 and 130. So I totally see the power. The only thing the speed might not be as quick. He might not be as quick, but the power is going to carry. He's just going to be fighting a bigger guy in Fulton, but the power is going to carry, and it's both hands. And I know people will say, "Oh, well, if he fought Figueroa and he hits hard," no, Figueroa is smothering, and he beats you up with volume. He just keeps coming, pop, 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 pop. Big difference from that, like Gonzalo said, freeze you in your spot, like fucking make you see dead relatives power, like boom. It fucking
so you're
it's
saying
crazy
he will
power.
carry
He's
that
got it
power.
both hands.
He will carry that power to 122.
I believe it wholeheartedly. Whether it's still enough, though, to do to people at 122 what he did to people at 118, that's to be seen. But I totally believe in my heart, the power's going to carry.
Yeah, because this is what they're saying. They're bringing up their arguments like, well, he's moving up in weight again. I don't know how many divisions in total that Inoue will be moving up. And so at some point now the power is not gonna be there. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And by the way, if you just joined the show, we did talk about Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. I mean, there's nothing much we can say about that fight. We again believe that Jake Paul's career is I don't want to say over, but I mean the idea that he can become a serious contender in professional boxing, that idea is dead. He can obviously continue boxing, but it's not going to be the same. And Jimmy said that it's played out. Is that what you said, Jimmy? Played out?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's this tweet right here is pretty. I just want Fury won a split decision and got put on his ass by a YouTuber. He needs to stick to taking steroids and tweezing his eyebrows and hope to be on more TV reality gigs because he sucks at boxing. So I think he's been fucking exposed too.
Yeah,
I think that is the biggest fight he'll ever have.
We should also talk about Tommy Fury. I mean, we focus on Jake Paul because he's a star. But Tommy Fury's somewhat of a star himself, or famous, I would say. I mean, obviously the brother of Tyson Fury. He had 8 professional fights, not 9 professional fights, but exactly. I mean, he didn't look that great against a YouTuber. So, where does does he have a bright future? Probably not, man. Probably not. He didn't look that impressive, in my opinion. So, yeah.
He landed some good combinations. I don't know if Jimmy got to see those. He landed some good combinations. I was actually more impressed because I thought he really sucked, but he's all right.
No,
I mean, he was fighting this guy. That's why it's hard to gauge these performances.
No,
how do you rate Jake Paul? Is he that good? Maybe you could assume because he beat, like you said, the Spider and. I don't know, man.
MMA fighters. Well, no. Listen, when it came to Jake Paul, I mean, there was a lot of questions whether he was gonna be able to make it against a real boxer. But what was I gonna say? But Tommy Fury is the one that I actually watched some of his fights, and he didn't look that impressive. And he was fighting terrible boxers. Now he had some good foot movement in those fights. Good job, but. Like you said, Gonzalo, you can't really tell when you fight that type of a position. So I don't know, man. I don't think Tommy Fury is gonna go that far. I think he's gonna end up in reality television or TV or something like that.
Yeah, and I can't. I mean, Tyson and him don't look nothing alike at all. It's kind of weird.
Because he has, I don't know how many brothers they have, but I've seen the other brother that one of the other brothers that Tyson Fury has. They kind of look similar. He doesn't look like he's part. He looks like he was adopted or something. He looks like he could be in a soap opera or something. You know what I mean? Like in Mexico, they say telenovelas there.
He's got the shoulders. The shoulders, like from the dad. You could tell that's his dad. Maybe different mother, because he's not as tall as the other guys. He's shorter. He's still tall, but he's not a giant.
He's a cruiser.
But from the shoulders, you could tell that he's related to the dad. I think that might just be me.
And guys, he's a cruiserweight. And by the way, in this fight, he waiting at what they were packed at 190 or something like that. But cruiserweight has moved up to 200 pounds now. So I mean, if you can forget about him becoming a heavyweight, obviously. So having a career at cruiserweight, it's not really that. You can't really go that far in terms of popularity, anyways. And he's not even that big of a cruiserweight, in my opinion.
Fury had dinner the other night with Mike Tyson and Holyfield. They were all breaking bread together. Mike Tyson, Tyson Fury, all of them, pretty crazy. But Wilder flew out there too. He's out there, and I hear the rumor is that Shelley Finkel even said, "Well, if they don't make the Usyk fight, we'd be more than willing for a fourth go." Like, I don't put it past them if they don't make that. I wouldn't be surprised.
They don't make Fury Usyk.
Fury, if Fury Usyk does get made, there's probably a good chance it'll be Fury on Wilder 4.
No, Jimmy. You know what? You said that, and I was like, nah. Jimmy said something else, because that's no. Who would buy that shit?
It's sickening to even think.
No.
I mean, it fell. The third fight dropped by 250,000. But yeah, no. My thing is this.
What?
And like I heard Ring say it too. If he was willing to fight Chisora, whatever his name is, 3 fucking times and put it on pay-per-view, this dude's got no shame. Tyson Fury's got no shame, and his fan base is out of control. They're as bad as the other side. They stick by him. He does no wrong. You know what I mean? He'll beat anybody in any time in history. So, I mean, they're talking Fury out of the Usyk fight. Listen, they took that fight out of Dubai. They don't want it in Dubai where all the money's at. And then they're going to put it in England. And on top of that, he doesn't want to do 50-50. Why? You got 1 belt. Usyk has 3 of them. Usyk fought the guy twice that you still haven't fought, Joshua. You know what I mean? And your biggest win is fucking Deontay Wilder, whose biggest win is Ortiz, whose biggest win is even more of a joke. So,
Jimmy, some people,
dude, what have you done, really?
Some people are saying that Fury's playing games. And but I'm like, okay, fine. You playing that? For example, I'm gonna retire, and then he doesn't retire. He's playing a game. Okay, I'm like, okay, whatever. But at some point, you keep playing that game, if you want to call it. It starts to look bad on you, because that's what it's looking. It's looking bad for Tyson Fury. He's delaying a fight that everybody wants to see, a fight that should be happening. There should be no issues. Seriously, with this fight, but it seems like there are, because of Fury.
I mean, if he's just a little dude, right? If he's just a little dude, you could walk right through him. He's just a blown-up cruiserweight. He's nothing. Then why are you fucking holding out for every last time or trying to make it so fucked up that you know the dude ain't going to take it? Make it 50-50. You already went into his bank. You already cost him a ton of money by taking that fight out of Dubai and putting it in London. But now you're going to fucking chip away more of his fucking purse? When you move like that, it tells me you really don't want the fight.
That's what it's
because you're doing what it has to do. Yeah, exactly.
And Jimmy, and I don't want to believe that, because I'm like, I'm a Tyson Fury fan, and but at some point, can you really defend that guy? Because he's been dragging on for months now. Okay, fine, that fight didn't take place in December. Okay, but now it's January, February. Now we're entering March, and still we don't have any news about this fight, whether it's happening or not. So I'm like, who's to blame here? I don't want to start blaming Tyson Fury, but it's up to him, basically. It's up to him. So we're gonna have to blame Tyson Fury, unfortunately.
Plus, Bob isn't going to push for it, especially in Dubai. Bob's just not a fan of the Muslims, any Muslim country. He just isn't, for obvious reasons. But yeah, he's never. That's because that's Hearn. Hearn's got the relationship out there in Dubai, not Bob.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna be unfortunate for Bob because, like Steve Kim said, and Saudi Arabia seems like they're pushing for a lot of fights to take place over there, and that could be something that we have to deal with. Having a lot of fights in Saudi Arabia. If the money talks.
The thing is, Bob's old. He's 90-something. I mean, the reality is he's not going to be long for the world. It's just the reality of humans. We don't last that long. So with Todd DeBuff, his son-in-law, how is he?
That's what
is he going to be the same way when he takes over the company?
How long? He's been there for a long time, right? His son-in-law? Like he
is.
Okay. So I mean, that's at least that's reassuring in a way. He might not diverge or go too crazy. He's gonna probably continue, obviously, what Bob Arum has been doing. But yeah, some things might be different with after Bob is gone. But what about Saudi Arabia? And Wilder was there, as you said, in Saudi Arabia, and he said that he wanted to fight 2 to 3 times this year. What are your thoughts on that?
He knows he's 40. He doesn't have much of a choice. Whatever fights he's going to have to do, he wants to get him out of the way now. But he's not, it's just so funny how that the people we were just talking about, the LDBC, couldn't wait to run to the fucking video machine and start making videos saying it's a joke that Tyson Fury's there's no problems with, the PBC. Wilder's, everything's fine. The next day, Fury comes out, Wilder comes out saying, yeah, I'm a free agent. Because there's no money there. They have no money. The reason why he's a free agent is because Showtime and the Weasel Espinoza told him, yeah, we don't have any money for you, for your fights. And I said it after he lost to Fury. I said, he should probably retire now because he's going to find out the hard way when he goes to get paid or talk about a fight. And they say, yeah, but you're going to have to do this for pennies on the dollar, what you did. And it's just hard when your last 3 or 4 fights, you've been paid at a minimum of $20 million. Suddenly you're looking at $2 million. And then you got to slice it up after you pay your people, your hotels, and all that, and they chip away at that. If you say your gross is $2 million as a fighter, you're lucky if you're walking away with $900,000.
So Wilder's gonna talk to these other networks or whatever. He's gonna be asking X amount based on what he believes he's worth, basically, or what he was getting paid in the past, right? And you're saying he's gonna get a reality check?
Well, he did with the PBC. That's why he's no longer with them.
Right.
But I believe in Dubai, they'll still pay him big money. Because
you're right.
He's a heavyweight,
yeah.
And they'll pay him. But I believe Matchroom. I don't think the Ruiz fight is dead. I think that fight could still happen, Wilder Ruiz, but with Matchroom actually putting it on in Dubai. But then again, if you're going to do that, why not put on him against somebody else? But yeah, most likely, it would also be a big slap in the face to everybody on that side of the street that they went to Eddie Hearn to put on the fight. Went to Matchroom.
Yeah. Now, these Saudis, they have a lot of money. And, at the beginning, they would pay a lot of money for whatever they could get. And they weren't really picky. But do you think that it's possible that in the near future, they're going to become more picky and not just splash money around and actually ask for serious
Depends
fights?
on the level of Saudi prince. Remember, there's one family who runs that country. And there's so many cousins. And they're all worth hundreds and hundreds of millions, if not billions, some of them. So it's nothing to them, like $20 million. They've gone out, those Saudi princes, they go out to Falcon fights where they send their Falcon on a hare or something on the ground. They bet $15-20 million on one event. They got stupid money. When you got that kind of stupid money, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So it's a status symbol to them. Like I'm having a fight at my fucking property, and they build a little arena. That's all it is.
They might be going through that period. They gold plate their cars, so they might be going through this period of let's get into boxing,
Yeah,
And they
they
might have
do.
a little
They
weird
go-
fetish with her
they
right
Yeah.
now.
And from what
It's
I
so true.
understand,
They do.
yeah, they're
They're
crazy.
toilets too, man. Fucking go play their
No,
toilets.
it's and especially with high energy
That's when you got.
prices.
That's you got stupid money.
Hey, Jimmy, guess why all these boxers are over there and diarrhea that place? Guess
Yeah.
why they're over there? Devin Haney, because they know they ain't that popular. Devin Haney knows he stinks out the joint. But Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury's over there, Mike Tyson, everybody wants a piece of the pie because they know those fools got mad money.
You're right, Gonzalo. Gonzalo, you know what? I thought they were flown in by the Saudis in order to have an attendance full of celebrities. But you are right. They could be just there because they know the money's there. And look at this.
Yeah, boxing is a
Gonzalo,
sinking ship, right, Bucho? And so they're over there saying, that's why when Devin Haney speaks and they're talking Deontay Wilder, it looks like they're talking in code, man. Well, we'll see. They're stuttering.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of things to say, but they really don't say nothing because, they're doing deals with the Arabs, and those guys are kind of secretive. They'll lean into you, they'll talk to you like,
and
they're real weird like that.
Gonzalo,
These guys are
Wilder's
negotiating with them fools.
and I'm telling you, Haney is a Muslim, and he's saying all inshallah the whole time so he can get into the Saudis' good graces. Then hold on, you had Badu Jack also. He's a Muslim. I'm telling you, Wilder's gonna convert.
Oh yeah, like Tyson, all them. Yep.
You've been around that place of the world. Do you think? I'm just asking you to speculate. Do you think these billionaire guys over there, they're looking at all these boxers that they're just their new toy for the week, or if like, yeah, we're getting.
It's exactly what it is.
Well,
that's right.
Like Jimmy said,
they're
they're going to get hella fun.
Yeah, BDA, and I think they're rubbing elbows with. So they're princesses. They speak to like all kinds of people, like dignitaries and stuff. But maybe now they're saying, let me talk to a boxer. He's skilled. He's world champion. Let's see what interesting things that dude's got to say. And yeah, maybe for now, then later they move on. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it does develop into something where it becomes like a mecca of boxing.
And Dubai is the richest country, if not the richest, one of the richest countries in the world. I mean, every other dealership, it's like a Ferrari, fucking Porsche. There's no crime because they'll fuck you up there. Like you do something stupid. I mean, even the workers they bring in to build the arenas and build all these things, they're not allowed off their platform. They stay almost in a caged-in area. They're almost like prisoners. They go to work at the end of the day, they go into a place that's fenced off, and they're not allowed to go into the city because their eyes, they're just a blight on they want everything pretty and sparkly new.
Well, I also heard that they really, I think they, after all these decades, finally they realize that they need to diversify their economy, and they're really looking into attracting tourists. And so they're trying to create a lot of events, musical events, and host musical events and sporting events. So I think they think boxing is and that's Saudi. But real quickly, that Saudi prince that's organizing a lot of this stuff. He's a real boxing fan because I've heard some of the interviews. He knows a lot about boxing. So yeah, just mentioning it.
It's the same thing with Vegas. That's how they made Vegas. They went through a lot of celebrities. They brought in all kinds. There was only certain ones that made gamblers. That was what was important. But that's how they made boxing. Put Vegas on the map. That's what once they brought in Joe Louis, and they started putting on fights and Muhammad Ali too out in Vegas. That's how they built Vegas up, because boxing was the biggest sport in the world too back then. But they brought them in to push Vegas, and I think they're doing the same thing in Dubai because they're building luxury hotels you seen those? They're building little islands by dumping sand. They're making all like this.
Yeah, but
looks like from the air.
Dubai.
So they're selling timeshares and stuff. So
yeah,
the advantage with them, I guess, is that I don't think that they're really interested in making money out of it. They're just spending money. It brings notoriety to that side of the world and to their country. But in the end of the day, if they break even, if they lose money, oh well, whatever. Then the boxers are seeing that, like, man, right there, that's where I need to go.
Yeah, I do believe that they want to create some sort of income for the country, but they're not that desperate yet because they still have a lot of oil and the energy prices are going to keep going up with all these conflicts that are happening. But Yeah, they're like you said, Gonzalo. They're probably if they break even, they don't give a fuck, man. Like but they should be concerned though. That country should be fucking concerned. Oh fuck, I fucked it up.
Yeah, but they're gonna lose their shit if the motherfuckers start getting on the back foot all of a sudden and start stinking out the place. They want to see war. You gotta think those fools. They're into war. It's hot as fuck. They get hostile whenever it's hot. Maybe the place got an air conditioner. The establishments where they fight, but yeah, once that little fetish starts, like the fucking candle starts dying out because they're stinking out the joint, they're gonna move on to something else. So fighters is like signing, like you sign that dotted line, you gotta deliver, man, or they'll kick you to the curb.
Dubai asked the NHL to hold games there. They wanted some preseason games in Dubai to prove that they could put on refrigeration that they could actually make a sheet of ice.
Yeah,
that's how bad they want eyes on the country. So yeah, they're willing to lose money. They don't care about that. Like you said, they got stupid money.
Campos Vasquez in the chat is laughing at the AC, but no, it's true that actually for the World Cup, they were gonna host the World Cup. Qatar was gonna host it during the summertime, and they said even though it gets to up to 50 degrees Celsius, I don't know how much in Fahrenheit, it's so hot. But they said it doesn't matter. We're gonna have ACs inside the arenas. But then apparently that's some of these environmentalist groups, whatever, they came in and said, no, that's gonna really pollute. It's gonna create a lot of pollution, so that's why they moved the World Cup to the winter time. But it is possible actually to use AC in a large arena, so the technology is there.
When they started taking the fights over there, sorry, Jimmy. When they started taking the fights over there, I to myself thought, and I don't really have like a horse in a race. Who the fuck am I? I'm just like over here, but I like boxing. And in my mind, I was thinking, these fucking dudes that are fighting over there, they better impress. Because in my fucking mind, they better impress because I want boxing to be like, represent themselves good against these princesses. In my mind, I was thinking. So it's like, you want the sport to like succeed over there, and you don't want these fools to go over there and give a bad representation for the sport, right? Does it really matter what I'm thinking? No, it doesn't. But it's kind of like this idea that crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm. By the way, in the chat, everyone's saying that the stadiums did have AC. Yeah, it's true. I actually kind of heard that, but I remember they were saying, "Oh no, we're gonna have to."
You'd have to.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's 120 degrees, for Christ's sakes. I mean, put it this way. During the building of the Olympics, they were building something for the World Cup or something. I forget. I was watching a special. It was on Real Sports with Brett. I think it was the Brett Gumbel or whatever on HBO. And he was talking. They had a guy on there with the number of deaths of their workers because they bring in Ethiopians, they bring in Afghans, they bring in all these different people to do all the labor on these places, and they don't work in air-conditioned things, and like the death rate was insane for mostly heat stroke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
That's why I think the Thriller in Manila because over here in the Philippines it's hot as hell, and I think it was in the stadium, right? So I think Muhammad Ali. That's why Joe Frazier quit, because I think they were on the verge of something happening to their bodies.
Yeah, I mean, you can have fights in that type of humidity as well. Hot and humid, like, fuck that, man.
Wasn't the Foreman, was the Foreman fight in Africa too? Or was it just...
Yeah, Foreman, and then the Joe Frazier
was in Zaire.
Yeah, Zaire. And you guys, I don't know if you guys knew this, nobody was picking Ali to win that fight against Foreman. Nobody. Because he already had lost to Frazier. And then Frazier got destroyed by Foreman. Foreman had knocked everybody out. Big monster. And for him to lay on the ropes and do the rope-a-dope and take the pounding he was taking. But think about that, dude. I was reading about that fight the other day. 1 billion people around the world turned in to watch that live. 1 billion fucking people. That was like a third of the planet at the time. Watch that fight live. That's how much of a cultural icon he was. And there's only been 2 fighters in my lifetime, Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, that transcended the sport to such a degree that they were part of the culture, the makeup of the world. At one point, more people knew Muhammad Ali than Jesus.
Jimmy, I thought you were going to say Floyd when you said 2 people. No, it's true. No, I'm not going. But just quickly, the Floyd's fight. I didn't even know he had a fight. I swear to God, man.
Yeah,
I saw the memes and
O2
tweets.
Arena, dude, it was
I
fucking
like,
empty, bro. Someone
that's-
showed a video of the corridors
Jimmy,
as
I
they were
felt-
announcing him. There was nobody there.
Jimmy,
Nobody.
I felt pretty bad, man, for Floyd. Even though I don't even like the guy, I never liked his style. I felt bad for the guy because there was nobody in the crowd.
Nope.
You could hear echo.
And it's funny too because his fans are still on Twitter saying he don't care. He's getting them checks. I'm like, really?
Oh my god! Jesus.
Yeah, it's like I'm saying to myself, what checks? How could there be checks? Who's gonna? The reason why people become millionaires is because they're usually shrewd businessmen. And if someone, you know what I mean, if he got checks before, he isn't getting them now because who's gonna look at that fight? First time you decide to have it at the O2 Arena. Like that's the smallest venue. So think about how much that costs to rent that place for the night. And you think the 73 people who showed up is going to cover cost? That thing last night lost so much fucking money. It's embarrassing. And for what? See a chubby fucking Floyd Mayweather spar some fucking tatted up nobody?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just ridiculous.
You guys sound like haters. That's number one. But I will say this. Floyd Mayweather got paid, so don't feel too bad for him, Ucho. But I will say this: he's a cautionary tale for these younger stars or these active guys. Shouldn't even call them stars. These active guys that think they're stars and they think, well, listen, I'm just not gonna fight for a year, and I got the fans wrapped around my finger. Listen, we're living in the information age now. Be cliched. Time flies by. There's so much information out there. It's information saturation. You can follow whoever you want out there. There's always something new coming across. People are these companies are vying for people's attention because the attention span is growing smaller and shorter, I should say, by the minute. So when a guy out there thinks, oh, hey, I'm still going to be relevant no matter what happens. No, these guys, so these active fighters or inactive fighters, they need to get it to their head. Forget about you real quickly, man. They don't really care about you all that much if you're not relevant. It's out of sight. That goes for Josh Taylor, whom we were talking about earlier. This motherfucker needs to stay active, man. Toronto.
He's already got another fight planned, BDA. He's already got his next fucking fight, Floyd. When you're fighting this often, listen, this isn't out of a love for the game or even a love for like the attention, the adulation. This is a necessity. He's fighting out of necessity, a need. I'm not saying he's broke, but he's trying to stave off being broke is what he's doing because every year he gets a tax bill. And the fact that in 2019 or 2017 rather, he owed $22 million to the IRS and he had to get a last minute court injunction and to get the IRS agents from taking his shit away. They were about to pile his cars on flatbeds and play because they fucking warned him and he didn't have the money. He finally had to go to court and put his cards on the table. This is what he has liquid. And this is after the Maypac fight. Okay, after Maypac, and he got $300 million. It was 2 years after that fight. He didn't have $22 million liquid. He actually didn't even have half that liquid at the time, cash. So he couldn't even pay his tax bill. He had to put it off until he got his payment from to pay his 2015 taxes. So this is not a fucking want. This is a necessity. And I said it back on the next round, back in 2015, 6 months after that fight. I said, you watch, mark my words, we're all going to see him embarrassing he'll be doing crazy shit. I didn't know he was going to pump, like try to pimp out fucking gel guns and selling refrigerators for a local Vegas fucking place or whatever. But yeah. What's that?
Jimmy, we still have a video where it was your first appearance on this show, on the BDA boxing show, and we made a video and we posted it. It's somewhere there. Just type in Jimmy appearance BDA boxing, something like that. And you said that. You predicted that. Oh, the connection. I thought I'm back. Sorry, the connection fucked up over here.
Yeah, no, I heard you.
Okay. So yeah, you predicted exactly that he was going to keep on fighting and keep on fighting. And I was like, okay, we'll see. You know what I mean? Because I never actually could imagine Floyd doing this.
You were saying that since
Yeah, but you can't go and buy $5 million watches, $10 million, a $5 million car, and then 2 months later sell it for $3 million, lose $2 million there. You can't surround yourself with an entourage that you're paying their fucking bills, security, never mind taxes. You own all that shit. It's a liability. Owning 30 cars worth $1 million each isn't a plus. That doesn't make you money. That's a liability. Insurance, you have to pay capital gains tax at the end of the year on that shit. You know what I mean? That's why he doesn't, he had the Mayweather plane. No, that was leased. And then even his cars, the cars was all those Maybachs and all these really expensive cars. You look at his garage in 2015, and then you look at the picture he put out last year. He had the same amount of cars, but the cars he does now are worth half of what they used to. And his watch collection is pretty crazy, too. He does have an insane collection of watches. I don't know if they're all valuable to the point where they keep the value. I know certain Rolexes do, but
by the way,
you watch. There will be a time he's selling them motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Anthony Lopez, thank you for your contribution. Hold on. Anthony Lopez, thank you for your contribution. He says, the video of coked up Oscar De La Hoya telling Jake to jab. No, I haven't seen it, man. I posted it on Discord. Oh, I need to see jab.
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, Oscar's been on fire lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was drunk when he announced the fucking tank fight.
He was in himself, man. But I just wanted to say something about the. I don't know if you guys mentioned this because I might have been away, but I don't know if you guys saw, but hours before the versus Fury fight, there was a tweet circulating with a photograph of a piece of paper that was supposedly the script for the fight. So supposedly it was like a wrestling script. He was saying, and it was very specific. Round 1, both men trade right hands. Round 2, left hook. Fury connects with left hook. Round 3, Paul's eye starts to swell. Some people actually believed it. Now look, I wouldn't put anything past this crazy sport. Of course, there's corruption. Of course, people take dives. But to think that they would put a script out there, a script, so that it could leak out, and everybody would listen. When people fix fights up for dives, most of the time the less people know, the better. But the least amount of people involved, the better. So what I say, that way the information is not going to leak out. Also, it's always better if the guy who's going to win doesn't know that it's fixed. That's why he has plausible deniability. He actually tries his best to make it look realistic. So for people out there to think that there was a script out there, and by the way, I don't know if people have seen how choreographed fights look, but they look choreographed. To think that, hey, this round he's going to get hit with a right, and then in that round he's going to swell up and get hit with left hook. I mean, I don't know, man.
Look at fucking professional wrestling. It looks fake as fuck.
Fury walks to the ring, he trips back and stare. Yeah, it was a little too involved. You know what I mean? The script.
All right, guys. You know what?
But it was funny. Whoever created that, I big up.
My computer here is fucking up the software. I don't know why. So that's why people.
It was crazy how the referee took 1 point away from this guy, and he took 1 away from the other guy.
He wanted to even it up. That's why.
Yeah, probably. Guys, I'm gonna end the show because there's something happening here with the software. But I just want to let everybody know that we will be.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Gee, the connection. Fuck. All right. Yeah. See you guys.
Yeah, later.
All right. I want to say on YouTube here, the software, the thing I used to stream is like fucking it turning red and yellow, and I think that's why people are dropping on and off. I was gonna say that we will be having more shows this week, and there is a surprise coming up, so stay tuned for the surprise. And that's pretty much it, guys. Subscribe to the Discord. Link is in the description. Join the Discord group. There's a lot of people there. Growing community where you can talk about boxing 24/7. And that's pretty much it. Yep. 8 Count, Knockout Net, Nes Mendoza, Vince Vegas, Bernard, Jonathan Merson, everybody who donated via the super chat. I would really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time, all right?
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in everyone. Totally fucking disappointed in everyone. All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in everyone. Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be alright, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He's just killed a little fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Lomito! Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.